Good evening, everybody, and we want to welcome you back for our third edition of the Deep Dixie Racing Report, brought to you by 5-Star Hyundai, 650 Russell Parkway in Warner Robins, Georgia. We're so glad that all of you have taken time out to spend a couple minutes with us this evening. The show's going to be going on until 9 p.m. tonight, and the good Lord willing, we will be bringing the Deep Dixie Racing Report every Thursday evening beginning at 7 p.m. and we'll go for 2 hours. We're going to have a lot of guests come on, drivers, track owners, promoters, and the like, and so we think that you're really going to enjoy it. Of course, we are here at our headquarters at the Rescues Smokehouse Grill. Mr. Raymond and Amy Poor, the owners of this great restaurant. This is the third week of us doing this show, and I've had supper up here all 3 times, and guys, it is very, very good. Food is awesome. It's very affordable, and you ought to come give it a try. They're located on exit 75, right off of Interstate 75. And while I'm on that note, there's going to be a big Fire Ant Festival this coming weekend. That'll be at Ashburn, which is just maybe 10 minutes or so away from here. Some of the best competition barbecue cookers in the entire country. Real quickly, I told Raymond I'd run them down. The Rescue Smokers from right here in Sycamore, Jack's Old South out of Unadilla, the Checkered Pig out of Virginia, Holy Smoke out of Dublin, the Budmeisters, Lake City, Florida, the Killer Bees, Augusta, and many, many more top teams will be on hand at the Fire Ant Festival. That'll be taking place this weekend in Ashburn, Georgia. And guys, as always, we have made a commitment that we will begin each and every one of our shows with prayer. We'll also end our shows with prayer, and we definitely want to honor America with the singing of our national anthem. We're absolutely loaded tonight. We've got some guests I know that you're really going to enjoy hearing from, and hope that you'll settle in and tune in with us. But right now, as always, I'm going to ask everyone, if you would, wherever you're at, if you'll bow your heads as we go to the Lord in prayer. Father, we thank you for another day. We thank you for the opportunity to come out and once again spend a little time visiting with friends and discussing the sport that we all enjoy. We thank you for the folks here at the Smokehouse Grill here on exit 75, Raymond and Amy and their staff. We thank you that we have a place to do this. We thank you for the sponsors and those people that help us get it done. And Lord, we pray for all of those in our racing family that are sick or that are struggling. And Lord, we especially lift up the Baltz family tonight, a gentleman that has been a part of this sport for so very long, that we lost earlier this week. I pray for his family and just ask that you will give them comfort. Let us be able to lift you up in all that we do and say here on the Deep Dixie Racing Report. And we ask all these things in Jesus' name, amen. At this time, let's honor America with the playing of our national anthem. And God bless America. Once again, we appreciate everybody joining us for our third show in the Deep Dixie Racing Report, brought to you by 5-Star Hyundai, 650 Russell Parkway in Warner Robins, Georgia. First things first, want to welcome in the most awesome team in racing, Mr. Dale Hall, Carolyn, and Leo Johnson, and my good buddy Brian, Big Time Hester here. Brian, how's it going, man?
Good.
Good to see you, man. We got a lot to get to tonight. Let me kind of run down the agenda. I know that many of you that tuned in last weekend, we were chasing an interview, and we done the best we could in the time frame that we had. And it was kind of funny. After the show ended, maybe 5-10 minutes after it was over, we were just kind of visiting here, and we got a call from Mr. Red Farmer. And so Mr. Farmer going to be joining us tonight, an absolute legend in racing of any kind, especially in dirt track circles. He is an original member of the Alabama gang, and we can't wait to get him on the air, turn him loose, and let him tell us about this awesome career, not only that he has, but continues to have. We're also going to be joined by Dirt Late Model Hall of Famer, Mr. Mike Head. The head man will be calling in a few minutes later. Real quickly, let me run down the list here in just a moment. We're hoping to be able to get a hold of Mr. Kenney. He is the director of the United Dirt Late Model Series. By the way, those guys are going to be landing in Waycross this coming weekend. Going to be an absolutely great show down there. The All-Star Stock Car Series with Leo and Carolyn Johnson. They're going to be there, and all kinds of exciting things happening down around Waycross. So we hope to have a word with Mr. Kenney coming up in just a few minutes. Next, we're going to speak with an E-Mod driver. He won at Golden Isle Speedway. Mr. Chad Tuten will be joining us via the phone coming up a little bit later. We're also going to try to track down John Michael Schmear. He was the winner at East Alabama Motor Speedway this past weekend, and John Michael is a hobby driver. And then a man from around our neck of the woods, he has won the Sportsman, what we call the Sportsman. A lot of guys call them the Limiteds. He's been a champion in that division. Matter of fact, first race of the year at Cochran Motor Speedway, he logged a victory against a very, very stout Sportsman field, Mr. Montie Vaughn out of Lizella, Georgia, driver of the 50B. He's going to be joining us. And then last but not least, we're going to be talking to Mr. John Kellum. He is a two-time winner in the United Dirt Late Model Series, scored a win at North Florida Speedway, also at Volusia Speedway. And so got a lot to get to. And before we do that, we're going to try to get a hold of Mr. Kenney. Brian, we had some sad news this week that hit our racing family. I suppose this man, along with his family, would probably it would be safe to say that they are legends. They are founders in racing. Mr. Earl Baltz, for those of you that may not have seen that, I didn't realize that Mr. Earl was 93 years old.
I didn't either.
And, of course, he is known for the Eldora Motor Speedway. And, of course, Sprint Cup driver Tony Stewart has purchased that facility. And even in years as recent as this past year, if you looked at dirtondirt.com and other racing websites, Mr. Earl was always a constant presence. And sadly, we lost him on Monday of this week. And so to his family and to all of you that were friends and up around that area, up around Rossburg, Ohio, our prayers and our thoughts are with you. He will sorely be missed. Did you ever get a chance to meet Earl?
Yes, I did. Back in '93, the first time I ever went to the World 100, I did get to meet him. He was coming up the hill, and the wind was blowing so bad it blowed his hat off. And for his age then, he could still get around pretty good. And he just bounced on down the hill, picked the hat up, and had a little witty comment to say to us as he was walking by. And he spoke to us and asked us where we was from. And we told him we was from Georgia, and y'all guys having a good time. And I said, yes, sir. And just a consummate professional. If you're going to set the bar running a track, promoting a track, he'd be the man to look at.
Absolutely, man. And, again, our thoughts and prayers go out to his family. Dale, first up tonight, we're hoping to get a hold of Mr. Kenney. And actually, while we're doing that, let me go ahead and mention to you, coming up on next Thursday night, we're going to do it all over again. Make sure that you join us. Deep Dixie Racing Report, sponsored by 5-Star Honda in Warner Robins. To simply go to deepdixieracing.com on Thursday evening, and around start time, which is 7 o'clock, you'll be able to see us and tune in. Mr. Kenney, this is Pastor Todd Sharon, host of Deep Dixie Racing. How are you, buddy?
I'm fantastic, buddy. How you doing?
We're doing good, man. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And Ken, I know that you are a very busy man right now. There is a big weekend coming up. For those of you that may have just tuned in, we welcome you. We're joined on the line right now by the director of the United Dirt Late Model Series, Mr. Kenney, and they're going to be stopping off at Waycross Motor Speedway this weekend. I know there's going to be a lot of racing down there, Ken. Tell us a little bit about your portion of the show. Ken, are you there, buddy? All right, we're having some phone trouble. We're going to see if we can reestablish that connection. Sometimes whenever you're doing things with technology, it doesn't always come through. I'll tell you what, Ken, Dale is probably going to try you again, buddy, so stand by. And while we're getting that taken care of, once again, let me welcome everybody out. This is our third show, the Deep Dixie Racing Report, and we invite you to visit the website and give us some feedback, man. You can find Deep Dixie Racing on Facebook, also the website, and we enjoy and we covet people's opinions. Now, we do know, I have heard from a few people that there has been some lapses in some of the viewing, things like you may lose the show for 20 seconds or whatever, and then you get it back. We're working on that. We're very much aware of that. And after all, we're getting started. And when these problems arise, we try to take care of them. All right, Mr. Kenney, are you back with us, buddy?
Yes, sir. I'm back on.
All right, man. Very good. Well, I was telling the audience that this coming weekend, the United Dirt Late Model Series is going to be rolling into Waycross Motor Speedway. Kind of give us a snapshot about what's going to be happening down there as far as you guys part of the program.
Yes, sir. Waycross has always been one of our favorite tracks to come to. It's one of our oldest running tracks, and the Carter family, their partners, they've done an awesome job with the place. And always treated us like family. We're bringing a lot of I would say the best cars from Florida are going to be in South Georgia this weekend, mixed up with the local guys. And, some of the guys that are going to be there, Keith Bosdish, who's always in contention to win our series. Many times he's failed late model champ. He's going to roll into town. His brother Jack as well, who's always a front runner. Ivan and Lloyd, no secret to South Georgia. Ivan is going to be driving David Clay's car this weekend. He'll be there. Kyle Bronson. Kyle's, awesome. It's people in South Georgia haven't seen him run. He's definitely a front runner, great competitor, awesome equipment. He'll be there. And, Mark Leitner, three-time champion. If you leave Mark out of the subject, Mark's always up front, and he always contends for the championship. And then this year, the hot guy that's been on the marks all year so far this young season's been John Kellum. John Kellum's been on fire.
Yeah, we're actually hoping that we can track John down a little bit later on in the show. Ken, for those that may not be real familiar with the United Dirt Late Model Series, kind of give us an idea how long you guys have been around, how you got started, and kind of where you guys go as far as schedule.
Yes, sir. We started about 7 years ago. This is our 7th season, and the people in Florida were screaming for a series, because so we kind of mirrored it after Ray Miller, the old National Late Model Series,
right?
And they did a great job up there for years and years, and a lot of the Florida guys, were up there to run, and I went to every track in Florida that was open. And we got together, and we were going to call it the Florida Dirt Late Model Challenge Series. And then I got a call from South Georgia to book some races in Brunswick at Golden Isle. And then soon after, I talked to Mike Carter, and then we also went over to Phoenix City in Alabama. So we changed the name to the United Dirt Late Model Challenge Series before we ever got started. And we had some rule differences in the very, very beginning that made it, a little bit challenging at some of the other Georgia tracks a little further north, but it's come together real well, the last couple of years. And looking forward to making more Georgia appearances next year.
Absolutely, man. And you guys have got a stellar field. Just about every one of those drivers that you mentioned, I have seen them race. And incidentally, now that you brought it up, Ken, Ray Miller is a good friend of mine. He lives maybe 5 miles from where I live, and I haven't seen Ray in a while. But anytime that you have a series that really had some good traction here in our area, like the National Late Model Series, and of course, all things at one point or another, things happen, things change. In this case, I don't think it's no secret. Ray's health had been in decline, and we need to keep him in prayer. But really glad that you guys have stepped up. In 7 years, man, by now you guys know the ropes, and you know where you're going, you know what you're doing. How many races do you have on the schedule this year?
This year we've got 17 races on the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this year. So, and you know, again, you know, with Ray, you know, he's in our first two. Ray did an awesome job for the late models in South Georgia, North Florida, East Alabama for years and years and years. And, you know, I talk to Ray now and then. I haven't in a while, but, you know, no animosity there. He you know, he should be in the Stock Car Hall of Fame someday for short track.
Right.
You know, he did a lot for racing. And we, you know, we stepped up and you know, we enjoy South Georgia. Some of our best races were joint races that we did with Ray, and it just the competition up there in South Georgia. You know, Rhett Carter, Russell Brown, Kyle Bridges when he does run with us, Carolyn Johnson. You know, there's a lot of good local late model players that's going to mix it up with us this weekend.
Right.
I thought, you know, and I'm looking forward to it a lot.
Yes, and I know that everybody here, of course, if you're just joining us and tuning in, thank you for taking a few minutes for Deep Dixie Racing Report. We're on the line, Mr. Kenney. He is the director of the United Dirt Late Model Series, and this series has been running for about 7 years. They've got 17 races on the schedule, and for those of you that would like to find out more about it, I can tell you, first of all, that they're going to be coming to Waycross Motor Speedway this coming weekend. But Ken, for those that would like to kind of follow you a little further, keep up with the points, be able to access your schedule, do you guys have a website or a Facebook page?
Yes, we do. We have both. We're very, very strong on Facebook, you know, under United Dirt Late Model Challenge Series. And our website is www.uniteddirtlatemodels.com. And we've got our points updated on there. We try to keep all the finishing orders, you know, fast times, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we, like I said, there's no hospitality like South Georgia. It's, you know, the people, they've always treated me like family. You know, the people that have, you know, scheduled our races, and we really appreciate that. And with the All-Stars being there this weekend, I'm looking forward to coming as a fan even after our race to watch them race, because I think that's one of the, you know, the best things to go watch anywhere. So I think between the two series and the other local classes that are running, this would be a great opportunity for people to come out and see some awesome racing this weekend at Waycross.
Yeah, man, I tell you, they're absolutely loaded. For those of you that would want to take a little bit of time this weekend, they'll be coming to Waycross Motor Speedway. That's the United Dirt Late Model Series. Also visiting Waycross this weekend, the All-Star Stock Car Series, which is a hobby/pure stock division. And you're going to get a double barrel of racing action, 2 series visiting on the same weekend, plus the supporting cast. And so I hope that everybody can go out and check that out. It looks like the rain's going to hold off. And the forecast for our general area, Ken, is it's going to get a little bit cooler. But the good news is I think the chances for rain are very, very slim. And so it looks like this one's going to go off with a hitch. And, Ken, it has been an honor visiting with you, man. I know you're busy. You got a lot going on, especially over the next 24, 48 hours. And we really appreciate you carving some time out for us and calling in. And hopefully we'll be able to talk again real soon and get an update on how the United Dirt Late Model Series is going along, buddy.
I appreciate it. I do. And we look forward to seeing you guys this weekend. I'm going to head to Montie, Georgia tomorrow to a show for my profession. And when I leave there, I'm going to come down and see you guys on Saturday. And I'm really looking forward to it.
All right, man. It sounds like a good time. Race fans, Mr. Kenney, the director of the United Dirt Late Model Series, rolling into Waycross Motor Speedway this coming weekend. Thanks a bunch, Ken. Have a good evening, buddy.
You too, sir.
All right. Well, you know, if you're into racing or you maybe are hearing about it, you got a friend, you got a family member, etc., now is the time to really find out what's going on in your neck of the woods. If you're tuning into this show tonight, obviously you're a fan on some level, and the racing season is just kicking off. And so now's a great time, man. It's not too hot, not too cold, and hopefully you can find some time to go visit a track near you. Dale, let's see if we can get Chad Tuten on the phone once again. Coming to you live from Rescue Smokehouse Grill right here on exit 75 on Interstate 75. We hope that you'll come out and check in. Chad.
Yes, sir.
Pastor Todd Sharon, host of DeepDixieRacing.com. How you doing, buddy?
Man, doing great. How about yourself?
We're doing good. Thanks so much for joining us, man. Sounds like that you have really got off to a good start this year and scoring a big win down at Golden Isles. And you are a E-Mod driver. For those of you that may not know what that is, Chad, tell us first off, how does that differ from some of the other classes that we see on a Saturday night?
Well, it's kind of growing in the southeast here, especially southeast Georgia. We're just we're an open wheel modified.
Mm-hmm.
They're really known down in Florida, Middle Florida, South Florida area. They rigged out Midwest bunch, you know, Kenney, Wallace, Ken Schrader, those guys run the same type of chassis. But it's really it's a full-length rear-end car, basically just like a late model, just got a stock front end, you know, with open fender wheels, really.
Yeah, I was telling the guys last week, I'm not exactly sure how we got on the subject, but at one point in my life, I lived in Lafayette, Louisiana, and pastored down there for a little while. And, man, I was able to see some really good racing. Sprint cars are big down there, but the modifieds, man, they were everywhere, Chad. And not just because I have you on the line, but I would encourage anybody, if you've never seen a modified race, dude, I'm telling you, those guys never disappoint. And anywhere I've ever been, there's a huge field. And I know that they run them at East Alabama and a few other places.
Chad, this is Brian Hester. What on y'all's motor rules? Can you explain to the crowd what the difference in y'all and a UMP and an IMCA modified would be as far as motor goes?
Well, you're looking at about a 600 horsepower motor that runs in the UMP. The IMCA classes, now they have what you call a crate class as well in the IMCA. But we basically run a stock 350 Chevrolet engine, 390 10 lift cam. You know, you can run a 4 eyebrow piston if you want to. You know, there's a weight limit on the camshaft, well, on the crankshaft. You can no knifing, you know, anything to make it reduce drag. You know, it's a real controlled class. Probably run around 350 to 400 horsepower versus 600, you know. But, you know, I've watched a lot of the E-Mod races in North Florida, you know, even when I'm not in the car myself, you know, they tend to put on a really good show, even though we're under horsepower, you know. I mean, it's really good racing, you know.
Man, I tell you what, that is absolutely the truth. Those of you just tuning in, we welcome you. We're joined right now by Mr. Chad Tuten. He drives an E-Mod, and I think probably most of us would just know that as a modified car. Chad, talking about those rules a little bit, I'm guessing that one of the things that have made this class so good and continuing to grow probably is faster than any other class is you can pretty much load this thing up and take it wherever you want to race, and there's not a whole lot of adjusting to be done. I think the rules package are pretty much universal. Am I right about that?
Yes, sir. It's a pretty tight window on what you can have on the car. You know, nothing aluminum. Magnet has to stick to everything on the car. They kind of paint you in a window far out the shocks. You really can't get too radical with shocks. You know, no adjustment shots at the track. I think Golden Isles and Waycross are the only two tracks really besides the California allow you to have a Schrader valve on the shot. So it kind of keeps expenses down. You know, you're not running into double canister style shots that you see on the late model classes. But for the most part, you know, everybody's rules are pretty similar. You know, I think Lake City, they're a little bit more. I don't want to use the word dumbed down, but you know, you're not allowed to run a brake loader there, and they have two rule shots. So. But they won't let us run our cars there. They want you to stick to 2 series styles of shots. So it's a little bit different, but for the most part, the E-Mod class in general is pretty well the same anywhere you go, North Florida, Southeast Georgia.
Yeah. I know that you already scored a big win, man. The racing season pretty much around here, we kind of measure it. A lot of people measure it by the Daytona 500, which is true. But Speed Weeks kick off, and you had a big win down at Golden Isle. Where does that stack up in your wins and on the racing that you've done in your career?
Well, you know, I started off in go-karts. You know, some really big wins in go-karts. But I would say probably my second biggest win to be in the car. You know, naturally that first win. Last year we ran 8 races, I believe. We won 3 out of 8, and first time in a car for us. But you know, this year everybody's when we won last weekend, everybody's got new equipment. They got new tires. They got the motors fresh, and
right.
Full field of cars. You know, so. To me, to win against Bud Chansey and a lot of those guys, those guys are on top of their game. So, we're pretty proud of it. You know?
Yeah, right on, man. Now, where are you going to be this weekend? Are you going to be making the trip to Waycross, or where are you going to be racing?
Yeah, we're going to go to Waycross. We're going to try to run 2-point series, basically. We're going to try to run Brunswick, and we're going to try to run Waycross with both full schedules. And as of right now, we're going to try to do that out all year, and maybe somebody can throw some special, big money races in. But we're excited to go to Waycross. That's family to us there at Waycross. That's where I grew up at, when I was a kid. So we hope we can go put on a good show and maybe pull off another win this weekend.
Yeah, man, it sounds good. Well, Chad, we really appreciate you joining us, man. I know that everybody's really busy leading up to a big race weekend. And, of course, I've mentioned it before, Waycross Motor Speedway is going to be the place to be this weekend as the United Dirt late models roll into town. The All-Star Stock Car Series coming, $4,000 to win in that late model race, $400 to start. That's a pretty good payday. And as Chad has told us, the modifieds are going to be running down there. And, guys, I'm serious. If you've never had an opportunity to see the modified cars run, I have never seen a bad, and a lot of tracks maybe don't bring them into the program. I've seen some that do, and in my mind, it is absolutely a plus. If you can get those guys, you can always have a healthy field. Competition is real balanced and even, and as Chad said, there's not a whole lot that you could do as far as tweaking. So if you get a chance to see a modified race, don't miss that opportunity. It's going to be a good time, and I promise you'll immediately become a modified fan. And, Chad, we wish you the very best this weekend. We also wish you the best in the upcoming 2015 season. Congrats on a big win at Golden Isles, and hopefully we'll be able to do this again real soon, buddy.
Yeah, we appreciate it. I'm hoping I can try to get Carolyn and Leo to spark up a E-Mod series. I'm so jealous of watching the All-Star Stock Car Series and these late model series. I'm kind of feeling like we're left out.
All right, y'all hear that, Carolyn and Leo?
You heard that?
Chad's saying go on and get a modified series start. All right, Chad, I'm going to bat for you, buddy. But well, thank you so much for joining us, man, and God bless you, buddy. We'll talk again real soon.
Yes, sir. God bless all y'all. I hope all the races are safe this weekend, and we look forward to seeing everybody at Waycross Saturday night.
Very good. Friends that are just joining us, Mr. Chad Tuten. He's a modified driver, home track, Waycross Motor Speedway. He just scored a big win at Golden Isle. Big racing going on this weekend at Waycross Motor Speedway. Guys, coming up next, just before we ring this guy up, Brian, I got to tell you, you know, this is the third show that we've done. And I can tell you that the next gentleman that's going to be joining us by interview, I had an opportunity to personally meet him probably 8 or 10 years ago and have stayed in touch with him. I don't see him as much as I'd like. But back in the day, man, the late 80s, early 90s, this guy was almost unstoppable. And if you are just joining us, thanks for tuning in to the Deep Dixie Racing Report, brought to you by 5-Star Honda in Warner Robins. But scheduled to join us next is a driver that's been around for a long, long time. He still does a lot of racing, of course, on a reduced schedule, and had the nickname the Head Man. And he hails from just up around the Atlanta area. I've actually been to Mike's home, and Mike Head is who I'm referring to. Mike Head, the Head Man. And to have a guy of this caliber on the third show, man, if we can get him on board, that's doing something. Brother Mike, Pastor Todd Sharon, Deep Dixie Racing Report. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Man, you cannot believe how good it is to talk to you, man. How you been doing?
I'm doing great, thank you.
All right. Well, Mike, we were just talking just before we got you on the line. Obviously, a stellar career, man. You have mixed it up with some of the best that's ever been, and still squeezing in a few races from time to time. And, of course, those of you that just may be tuning in, we just got on the line with Mike Head, a legendary dirt racer, and he is a member of the Dirt Late Model Hall of Fame, was inducted here, I think, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And Mike is just an awesome guy. Mike, let me just start out from the very beginning here. You've been racing a long time, and I know that you made the tour, the trips with the old NDRA, the Habitampas, and all of that. Was there a certain era of time that you enjoyed more than another as far as racing in the 80s, 90s, or so forth?
Well, I enjoy racing, all the races. Seemed like racing was simpler back then. Not that it was any easier, it was just simpler. You know, these cars now, we won a race a couple of years ago down here, and race paid $600 to win. My wife said, I don't understand. She said, back in the 90s, they was paying us $1,000 to win a local show, and we had $10,000 cars. Now we have $30,000 cars racing for $600. She said, I don't understand.
There's something wrong with that math, ain't it, Mike?
Yes, sir. She said, I'm not real smart, but that won't work like that.
I hear you, man. I hear you. Now, as far as being inducted to the Dirt Late Model Hall of Fame, that is something that, you know, when I hear the word Hall of Fame, to try to put a number on how many dirt late model drivers that there were and still are, and those that maybe were not a household name, there's got to be thousands upon thousands. And to be able to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, Mike, and I don't mean for this question to sound cliche, but did you ever think you would make it in? And what did it feel like once you realized you were in?
Well, Lord, no. I told them they just run out of people to put in. No reason why they put me in. But I'm honored. It's a great honor to be put in. They put me in the Dirt Racing Hall of Fame in Florence, Kentucky. And then they put me in the Georgia Racing Hall of Fame. And about 6 weeks ago, they put me in the Southern All-Star Hall of Fame. Wow. And I'm just amazed that I'm just a punk kid from Cabbagetown. You know, who'd ever thought that I've been in a Hall of Famer? I'm amazed, but I'm honored to be in the category. I have heroes in racing. Larry Moore was my hero. Leon Sales, you know, people like that. Mike Duval. And this guy was my hero. And to be in the same class that they were in, man, I'm overwhelmed.
Man, Mike, I knew about those two Hall of Fame inductions. I wasn't aware of that Southern All-Star, so congrats on that third one, man. Good job. Talking about your heroes, you know, I'm trying to ask the questions that hopefully our viewing audience would want to know. With all of the battles that you had, man, I'm talking about from top to bottom, who would you say was probably the toughest late model driver you ever competed against?
Oh, Lord, I hate to put a name because they were all tough. But people like Jeff Purvis, Jack Boggs, you know, them guys, and like you say, I called this name Duval. Well, them guys were, they were rough and tough racers. Just because you had a spot don't mean you owned that spot. You had to earn that spot. And like I say, old Duval used to. At one time, Mike Duval, myself, and Larry Moore, we were all teammates. We all drove for the same man. And this man had a handful keeping all of us under control.
Yeah,
I could imagine.
Man, I'm just overwhelmed to be able to say that I raced with those guys.
Very awesome. Very awesome.
I tell people, look here, I was just a kid when I started racing. Y'all were all over me when I started racing.
I hear you. That's a good way to put it, Mike. What is, out of all the races that you won, I can remember back in the day and getting the Motorsports Weekly. Remember that at Chris Economaki newspaper? And I can remember
Speed Sport News.
Yes, Speed Sport News. My mistake there. But I can remember getting a hold of those things, Mike, when I would go. I grew up in Charlotte, and we would make the trip down to Cherokee Speedway in Gaffney, and they'd always have those papers, and we would always be able to look and see what happened at Speed Weeks. Man, you had a lot of success, but if you had to put a label, what was your biggest win in your racing career?
Well, I won a lot of races, I think, but I won a 200-lap race at Mobile Speedway back. God, it's been 30 years ago.
That would have been the middle 80s, wouldn't it?
It didn't pay a whole lot. I think it paid $10,000 to win, maybe. And I've won bigger races since then. But that race right there always stands out. That I enjoyed. I'd never been there before, never seen the place, and just to show up and win the race, it was really special for me.
Yeah, I bet, man. If you're just tuning in right now, welcome to the Deep Dixie Racing Report, brought to you by 5-Star Honda in Warner Robins. We are joined by a dirt track racing legend, the head man, Mike Head, on the line with us, and he'll be with us for a few more minutes. Mike, you and I share a very unique friendship, and, you know, I've never been the kind of guy that is a name dropper kind of guy. And like you, I am the least among us, and just be blessed enough to have a little gig as an announcer at the track I live closest to, and to be able to get hooked up with Dale and Carolyn and Leo, my buddy Brian here to host this show. But I want to change gears a little bit right now. And, you know, when I think of Mike Head, I think of a racing warrior. But there is another part to Mike's life and his story. Mike, I guess it was probably 10 years ago, I was invited to East Alabama Motor Speedway to do the prayer and national anthem. I actually got to do a church service that Sunday morning on the PA. That was cool.
Absolutely.
And Keith Edge, who is one of our local drivers at Cochran. And by the way, Mike, Keith said hello to you, man. And Keith was there, and we were having, you know, getting set to do what we were doing. And Keith said, Pastor Todd, I want to introduce you to somebody. And Keith brought me up to this giant of a man. If you've never seen Mike Head, Mike is what, 6'4", 6'5", probably
Yeah.
280, nothing but muscle. He's got hands as big as hubcaps. And Keith introduced me to you, Mike, and standing there in the infield pit area, I'll never forget, man, you started giving your testimony, and
Yes, sir.
it turned into about 10, 15 minutes. And I don't know if you remember, but there was a crowd of probably 40 people at least that gathered around us. And before we ended our conversation, the thing I remember was you shook my hand, gave me a big old bear hug, told me you were praying for me, but you prayed right there in the middle of the infield, and you didn't care who was looking. You were sharing your testimony. You were sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ. And I want to tell you something, man. That was one of the greatest moments in my life. I've never forgotten that.
Well, you know, I don't talk about my past a whole lot because I don't want to honor and glorify the devil in any kind of way.
Right.
In 1997, Jesus Christ stopped by my house here and changed my life. And ever since that day, I try to live for Jesus Christ and talk for Jesus Christ. Now, when I get to the racetrack, I have a job to do, and that is racing. And I tell people, if I had a Bible to tell everybody how to set the car up, the right springs, the right tires, man, I couldn't have enough in my truck to sell. But I have the real Bible to tell you how to go to heaven and how to honor and worship Jesus Christ. And it's like no one wants to hear that.
Right.
But I keep talking it, I keep telling it, and until the day I take my last breath, that's what I'll do.
Yeah, and I've
I'm
seen
just
that in action.
I'm just amazed that God has gave me a second chance at life to tell people about Him, because I used to work good for the devil. I was a good worker, but not anymore. I worship Jesus Christ.
So
and
awesome.
That's where I'm at.
So
and
awesome.
if a man asks me to pray for him, I don't care where we at or what we do. I will pray for that man. And if people think that makes me a weaker person, that's okay. I'm okay with that.
I can tell you, man, you became a hero. Not that you were trying to do that.
Well,
and
you know, you talk about coming down about Keith Edge. Keith Edge, I love Keith Edge. Keith Edge is my friend. If he called me and needed anything, but I have so many acquaintances down there in South Georgia, around Dublin, around Cochran, down that way. I enjoy coming down there just to see people that I raced against that I knew that I don't get to see very often. I love it down that way.
Man, and we love having you, Mike. For those of you that are just tuning in, we've got a dirt track racing legend, Mike Head, on the line with us, Hall of Fame racer, already had 2 Hall of Fame inductions, just recently inducted in the Southern All-Star Hall of Fame. And Mike, before I have done this show, this is only our 3rd show, so we really appreciate you being a part of it.
Well, I'm honored that you called me to ask me to be on your show.
Absolutely, man. You were one of the...
I'm a racer, and I'll be a racer till I take my last breath. I want to see all those racetracks down there do good. And I'm going to tell you something. I've not been to... I went to Cochran back around Thanksgiving or so, I think, maybe a week or 2 after. And I don't know who owns that place down there now, but boy, they have made great improvements down at that place.
Yes, they have. You're right, man. You are very right.
I've been to Dublin one time, and I could tell when they had really worked on that place down at Dublin.
You're right.
I mean, they've stepped that program of racing up down there around South Georgia.
Yeah, they have, man. Mike, there was a little bit of debate in my mind. I knew we were going to do this interview tonight if everything worked out, and I'm so grateful that it did. I like to say, Lord willing, when it comes to everything, because you know sometimes God's will is different from ours. But so happy we got it in. But I know that you and your wife and your entire family, man. You guys have been hit with a lot of tragedy, and
Yes,
I hesitate to even bring it up, but I feel like that I would be remiss if I didn't. I know that you lost your son years ago, and Tammy Jean. I remember when,
Tammy Jean.
yeah, and when she passed away, and I came to the funeral up there that day, and
I remember you coming.
it was standing room only. I mean, it was incredible, the amount of love and support. And Mike, I guess my first question is, how are you and your family doing? How y'all holding up, buddy?
Well, my wife is really, really sick, and that's why I'm not racing. My wife has got cancer, and I try to take care of my wife as much as I can, be with her. She's real agitated, real sensitive to being upset, so I try to stay with her as much as I can. And just back several years ago, I had a heart attack, and you know, hey, don't anyone feel sorry for my head, because I'm okay. I've got a home in heaven when I leave this walk of life, and I'm going to be fine. But right now, we have a tragedy, not tragedy, but a hard time in our lives with my wife and what's going on. Like I say, I'm a racer. I love to race. I wish I could go race tonight, but I can't. So I just do the best I can and go about my way.
Mike, what's your wife's name?
My wife's name is Carolyn.
Carolyn?
Carolyn Head.
Mike, before we end the interview, which we're not done yet, if you can carve out just another few minutes, man, we'd love to hear stories. Those of you that are just joining us on the Deep Dixie Racing Report, we're joined right now by Hall of Fame dirt late model driver Mike Head, and he's telling us a little bit about his testimony, talked about some of the tough competitors that he went up against, and things that's happened over the years. But Mike, before we say goodbye, which we're not ready to do that now, I wanted to stop this show, and I want to pray for Carolyn before we do that. But getting back to the racing part of it, and by the way, I appreciate your being so honest and candid. That's one thing I love about this man. What he's saying here on this show, don't think for 1 second, if you see him out and about in a pit area or in a race car or whatever, Mike Head's going to be the same guy.
He's genuine.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Super genuine guy. And that's what really matters, because after all, you know, people see through it anyway. But Mike, getting back to the nuts and bolts of the racing, back in the day when things first started out, and, you know, you talked about racing against the Duvals, Jack Boggs, there was Freddie Smith, there was Buck Simmons, all of those guys, Archer, and
all that bunch.
Yeah. How did it feel to actually make a living driving a late model? I mean, was it a little bit scary going into that, depending on your livelihood? And what was your career before you did that?
Well, I drove a truck a little bit around, but my life has always been racing. My brother, which was like a daddy to me, he told me, he said, boy, if you'll go get you a job at a union truck line or a union company, he said, work at it as hard as you do racing. He said, by the time you're 40 years old, you'll be a millionaire. Well, I didn't give a quarter about any of that. All I wanted to do was race.
Mm-hmm.
I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't do drugs, but I have an addiction, and it's called race cars.
Mm-hmm.
I love racing. I can't hardly read, can't hardly write, but I understand racing, and I understand racing real good.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I've ever done. That's all I ever wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
My wife says if there was ever a man born to do something, she said it was she was born to drive a race car.
Mm-hmm.
God gave me that talent back many, many, many centuries ago before I was even thought about. It's nothing that I've acquired. God gave me that talent.
Right. Right. Being joined right now by Dirt Late Model Hall of Famer Mike Head. And Mike, I got to ask you, I have so many questions, man, but did you?
Man, I'm here to answer them.
I hear you, buddy. Did you ever give any thought to moving up, maybe making a run at back in the day a Busch car, or maybe even toyed with messing with a Sprint Cup career? Did any of that ever come into play?
Well, I'm going to tell you something. I go down to Atlanta Motor Speedway every Wednesday for Bible study. And there's a guy down there, Eddie Barton, the preacher. I love Eddie Barton. He became the pastor at Concord Baptist Church. He and Ronnie Sanders came to my shop one day and told me, he said, God's got you exactly where he wants you. He said he knew you was going to be saved, and he wanted you at these old dirt tracks talking for him. He said, that's why you never run NASCAR. That's why you never had the opportunity to go do that. He said, you'd have been one of the greats. He said, but it wasn't meant to be. And since he come and told me that, I'm okay with what he said.
That's a good
But
answer.
the bottom line about this racing is talent has nothing to do with what you do anymore. You know, back in the day, back years ago, we all built our own cars at home. We all built our own motors at home. And we got to the racetrack, the best driver would win the race.
Yep.
But it's not that way anymore. Now, when you get to the racetrack, you better, if you got the right motor, you got the right tires, and you just keep going to that truck, getting tires and motors, will be fine.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to win the race because of money.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about it. Now, I catch a lot of heat for saying what I say about that, but it doesn't take any talent to drive a race car anymore. It just takes money, and most of the people nowadays don't want to work as hard as it takes to race.
Wow.
It's a lot of hard work to race.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a hard game, ain't it, Mike?
It's a hard life.
Mike,
And
you were bigger than most drivers. Did you ever have like any special when it come to seats and things like that? Did that go
Yes,
into the figuring? Tell us about that. And while you're telling us about that, what was the chassis? Was back in the day when you started, was it a Rayburn? Was it a Shaw? What was it?
His first car was a Corvair.
I had some Gigolo cars to start with.
Mm-hmm.
I had some custom chassis cars that Frank McClendon built for me. And then I got hooked up with C.J. Rayburn.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I call him Bud. That's his nickname. Old Bud has been good to me. He's probably given me more cars you put in two shops for me to race. And now I'm a GRT man, and that's what I'll have until the Lord takes me home, I guess, is GRTs.
Okay.
Nowadays, we are paying as much for shops as we used to pay for race cars.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yes.
That is
These motors that everybody runs in these cars, Mike Vaughn of this Crate Racing Schmear series, he's going to be the savior in time to come. People going to say that he was the savior to save dirt racing. We need somebody to come along, and it's him to save us from ourselves.
Yeah.
These motors cost way too much money for what these tracks are able to pay. These tracks can't pay for so much money.
Right.
And these motors just keep costing more and more and more money, and nobody can afford to do it.
I heard somebody today. I was actually, matter of fact, it was you and this guy. The only difference in your name is he has an R in his last name. Mike Hurd with 5-Star Hyundai. They're our sponsor for the show. I went by today and visited Mike. By the way, how do you guys like our new banner? That's courtesy of Mike Hurd and 5 Star Hyundai. But Mike Hurd told me that basically the same thing you just said, that the late model engines and everything, they're just about to price themselves out of racing. And, you know, the crates have come around and made it affordable. And you know something, I've seen some crates outrun some of those big motors. I've seen it happen. It's all about getting the car to the track. But I think that you share the opinion that a lot of people do, that if something doesn't happen to get the working man back in the game as far as affordability, then there's a lot of guys that at the very least are going to have to cut back, and some of them are probably going to have to quit altogether.
They're already doing it now.
Well, I tell these promoters that I know that I can talk to that are not prima donnas, this race is a two-way street right here. We need the promoters. They need us as racers, and we both need people in the grandstands, because those are the people who's going to come and pay our purse. They're going to come pay his light bill. And if we don't have people in the grandstands, we're not going to be able to race.
Right.
And these people don't care if you got a 500 horsepower motor in that car or you got an 800 horsepower motor in that car.
Right.
They want to see you race side by side and race for a pass. They don't want to see everybody just get in line and follow the leader.
Right.
Amen.
Yeah, you got that right. Mike, real quick, what are your plans at least for the short term for 2015? Can you give us an idea where and when folks can maybe go and get an opportunity to see you race? Do you have any kind of schedule put together?
Until my wife gets better, I don't have any real plans. It takes a lot of time to race and a lot of commitment to race. And my commitment is to my wife, to be with my wife. Now, on my Facebook page, I have 2 race cars now that I could go race, but I don't want to do it because my wife is more important. She has given me a life, gave me an opportunity that I'd have never had without her. So it's my time to give back to my wife, to support her in this time that she needs it.
Absolutely. Those of you that are just joining us, we have had an awesome time about the last half hour. Been talking to Hall of Fame driver Mike Head, the head man. And Mike, you told us earlier, for those that were just joining us, thank you for tuning in to Deep Dixie Racing Report. You told us that your wife, Carol, go ahead.
You know, you was asking me, I was so much bigger than the other people that race. I've always had to fix my cars for me to drive. Had to have big seats, bigger cockpits. I can't just show up and drive somebody's car. I have to fluff and buff on it so I can get in and out of the car a little bit.
I hear
That's
you.
the difference in just if I was like some of these guys weighed 170, 80 pounds, I could just jump in anything. But when you weigh 280, it's hard to get it.
I hear you, man. I hear you. And he's every bit of that. And Mike, before we let you go, buddy, I want to do something a little different. I want us to just take a time out, and I want to have a word of prayer for your wife, Carolyn, and we'll say goodbye after this. But I want to tell you, man, it's absolutely been an honor to talk to you. And if you ever have an opportunity and you happen to be somewhere where Mike Head is at, whether it's Atlanta at a Bible study, I know Mike does some speaking engagements and goes around. He's got an awesome testimony. And more than just talking the talk, this man walks the walk. And Mike, let's take a minute. And if those of you out there that are watching, if you will, let's just take a minute. Let's pray for Miss Carolyn Head. Father, we come to you in the name of Jesus, the only name under heaven given among men whereby we must be saved, the name that has all power. And Lord, I lift up Miss Carolyn to you right now. whatever she's going through in her body, whatever's happening. Lord, I just ask that you will soothe her, that you will comfort her. I pray for her mind, soul, body, and spirit. When we're sick, it's so much more than a physical thing. It affects how we think and how we feel and our emotions. And Lord, I pray that you will just give her doctors and nurses wisdom and guidance as they treat her. Give her strength, I pray. Lord, we also lift up Brother Mike. I know that he's willingly and gladly supporting her. And Lord, as he stands by his wife and does all he can to help her and to comfort her, give him strength, Lord. We thank you for the great testimony and the great story that Mike has, and that he is unashamed and unafraid to share with everybody. And Lord, we just thank you that we know that with you, it's only going to end good. We know that. We know that that you are working for us right now, even though we can't see it. And I just pray for the Head family, Mike and Carolyn and all of his family. Keep them safe, meet their needs, Lord, and just comfort their hearts. And we ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Mike, we sure appreciate, man.
Anytime that I can speak, don't hesitate to call me. Not one time.
You know, on that note, Mike, I'm probably going to be calling you soon to come speak at our church down in Warner Robins, man. We would love to have you. But listen,
I went to Cochran, Georgia, and spoke at a church down there.
Limestone Baptist.
Yes, sir. There was a man on the front row that used to come watch me race. And Lord God, we had so many rough times, and that man come to hear me speak, and I apologize for some of my craziness that I've done to this man, and I'm just thank you, Jesus, is the only thing I'm saying.
Amen. Mike, this has absolutely been one of the highlights of me being in racing. I'm serious. The watching races, being able to, it's been an honor, man. And
you're embarrassing me saying that. Thank you.
Well, listen, buddy, we wish we had more time, but I hope that, that we'll be able to do this again real soon. Ladies and gentlemen, the Head man, Hall of Fame driver Mike Head has been with us for about the last half hour. Mike, you did a great job, straight from the heart, man. We appreciate it. We love you, brother. God bless you. And if you need,
listening, go get him, Keith.
all right, man. I'm going to make sure he knows that. All right, Mike, you have a good one, buddy. God bless you, friend.
God bless you. Thank you, man.
Yes, sir. Mike Head joining us, man. Awesome. Yeah. Absolutely awesome, man. And you can tell that I get excited, Brian.
Yeah. If anybody ever has a chance and you see him, he's very approachable, like you said. He's very genuine. There's not a fake Mike Head.
Right.
And he's been like that since I was a kid. I've watched him at Dixie Speedway, Rome, West Atlanta, all his, stomping ground back in the day. And I love talking to him.
Yeah.
And I've heard his testimony. I've seen him put probably 50, 60, I don't know, up there at Talladega Short Track one time at the Ice Bowl. He put half the crowd in tears. And I want to say some folks might have been moved to Christ that day. Yeah. Probably.
One thing, and before we leave, Mike, and move on to the next portion of our show, by the way, thank you for joining us, Dale. Give me about 60 seconds. Deep Dixie Racing Report brought to you by 5-Star Hyundai, 650 Russell Parkway, Warner Robins, Mr. Mike Hurt and his staff down there, award-winning staff. Go check them out. And Mike, I know you're watching. Thank you for your help. The banner looks good. Yep. We appreciate you getting that. Before I leave Mike Head, anybody that has ever thought about Christianity, serving the Lord, church, whatever you want to call it, there's always going to be a lot of people that'll disappoint you. When we look at a human, humans fail. It's a perfect gospel carried by imperfect people. And God would rather take something that's broken and needs some work on it than to toss it aside and get a new one. That's how God works. And the reason I'm saying that, those of you out there that have maybe had an experience like that, somebody let you down, or you're wondering, is this really true or whatever, Mike Head is a good place to start. If you want to see what the power of Christ can do in a man's life, you need to let Mike Head talk to you a little bit. This guy is straight out of what a disciple of Christ would be.
A powerful testimony for the tragedies that happened.
Absolutely.
In his life, and he still carries on day to day.
Absolute unspeakable tragedy, and I touched on it, but it hasn't hurt his faith. It hasn't hurt his testimony, and we will continue to keep Carolyn in our prayers. Mike, we love you, buddy, and thank you very much. All right, Brian, right from one legend to another. Dale, let's see if we can get this next guest on the line. Folks, you're going to be glad you tuned in. He is a member, an original member of the Alabama gang, Mr. Red Farmer, set to join us here, and hopefully the call will go through, and we will be able to talk a little bit with Mr. Red.
Hello.
Mr. Red, Pastor Todd Sharon, Deep Dixie Racing Report. How are you, sir?
Well, I can't complain. We did no good anyway.
I hear you, man. Ladies and gentlemen, we are joined on the line right now by, if there is a more iconic individual anywhere in the world of racing, certainly getting it done. And I look back, Mr. Red, by the way, I was raised, you didn't call your elders by their first name. Is it okay if I call you Mr. Red?
Just Red be fine. You don't have to put no Mr. in front of it.
All right, good enough. Red Farmer on the line with us. And real quick, before we turn him loose, Red, I have been a fan of yours for a long time. And as far as the racing is concerned, let me just give you some of the things that I know. This is just the tip of the iceberg. He was the most popular driver 4 times. In 1998, Red Farmer was elected to be a part of a very elite group, the 50 greatest drivers in NASCAR history. Yep. In 2002, inducted into the National Dirt Late Model Hall of Fame. In 2004, International Motorsports Hall of Fame. He has been racing, and Red, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he has been racing for about 7 decades now. His first race was at the Opelika Speedway near Miami, and as best I could tell doing my homework, Red, that was 1948. What can you tell us about that first race?
Yeah, that was well, I don't know whether you really call it a race, to be honest with you. Oh, my buddy around with said he had a race car, and he had a falling out with his driver. And Earl asked me, he said, hey, you want to drive my daddy's car up there at Opelika? And I said, what kind? He said, it's a race car. I said, I don't know nothing about no race car. He said, well, we'll go up there and let you try it out. It was a old 34 sedan with a flat head in it, and it had tires about 5 inches wide, I guess, or 4 inches wide on it. And we went to Opelika. There was no racetrack at that time. There was a old abandoned airfield up there, and you run down one of the straightaways, turn through the dirt on the turn, and then get on the straightaway, come back the other direction, and get down there, then turn back through the dirt through the infield and come over to the other straightaway. So we were just it was kind of a crazy setup. We run down 2 straightaways and 13 the turn. So, and I rolled it over and turned it over 2 times, landed on 4 wheels, and kept going. And I thought that was the most fun I ever had in my life.
That's what I'm talking about. You knew you was born to race then, didn't you, Red? That's awesome, man.
Yeah. That was a lot of fun. So I've been doing it now for 67 years.
Incredible. Red, for those that are, by the way, if you're just tuning in, man, you hit the jackpot. Thank you for joining us tonight. Deep Dixie Racing Report, sponsored by 5-Star Hyundai. We are joined by racing legend Red Farmer, an original member of the Alabama gang. And Red, in an interview, a reporter one time asked you about how many races that you thought you had won, and the answer was somewhere between 700 and 900 races.
It's 752.
752. 752. That is incredible. And for those that are joining us, if you don't mind, Red, we don't want to put you on the spot or nothing, man. That ain't how we roll. But tell everybody how young you are, Mr. Farmer.
What?
tell everybody how young you are.
Well, I'll be 83 my next birthday.
83 years old. Brian, we got to give him a hand, man. 83 years old. And Red, you still mix it up from time to time on those Alabama dirt tracks, don't you?
Yeah, I ran over it 2 weeks ago. I've got 3 cars over here, and I decided I was going to try to run the super late model. I've been running crates for a while.
Uh-huh.
So I rolled out the super late model, the rocket car. I went to Talladega. First time I've run super late models in about probably 3 years. And I qualified 12th and started 12th in the feature and finished 7th. So I had a top 10 finish first time in the super late model 2 weeks ago.
Wow. Red, being racing for what you said, 67 years, we just got off the phone with Mike Head, the head man, and Mike has been around it for a long time, but you've got him beat as far as longevity. Looking back over the history of racing, I mean, you were part of the original foundation way back in the day, even before some of the superstars that are now retired. You were even there blazing the trail before them. Getting started back in, I guess, the 40s or the 50s, what was your favorite time of racing throughout your entire 67-year career?
The favorite what now?
The favorite time frame, the era time. That's how I want to put it, the era.
Oh, I don't know. They've all been that way. I ran my first race on Daytona Beach out on the ocean course in the Hudson in 1953. That's the first year I joined NASCAR. And, of course, I've been in NASCAR ever since then. But I ran the Hudson out on the beach course. And then, you know, it was kind of it was a learning thing at that first time. But, you know, we ran the Sportsman Modified race there in, I think it was 1956. And they started 136 cars in the race. Started everybody showed up in there. And it's been a great everything about every year. I wouldn't say there's any better decade. I think we've probably won, Bobby and Donnie and myself won most of the races through the 60s and early 70s, which was a great time. I mean, Donnie kept up with it more than I did. But we ran, in that time, the Alabama gang, me and Bobby and Donnie, we ran 106 races in 1 year.
Wow.
And I think Donnie said we won 86 of them of that we started. 104 races, we won 86 of it, the 3 of us.
Wow.
So that was a great time doing that. I think that was 62 or 63 or something like that year. So that was a great year. But then in 69, I won my first, back in 56, now I won my first NASCAR Modified Championship, NASCAR, and that was a unique year because the last race was in Concord, North Carolina. I think a 200 lap on that half-mile dirt.
Right.
And I was racing with Ralph Earnhardt then. And that what made it unique. Ralph in that race, since they ran the Sportsman and Modified together, and the points were separate. And Ralph won the National Sportsman Championship that year from that race, and I won the Modified, and I go to Daytona and set up the awards banquet next to Ralph Earnhardt. So that's kind of was a unique year.
Yeah.
So, you know, and then I won the championship in 69, which made the 60s was a great year. But then I won the championship 70 and 71, and then I quit racing at points after 3 years in a row, that running in the ground.
Wow. Incredible, man. That's some good stuff. Good stuff. If you're just tuning in right now, we are joined on the line right now by racing icon, Mr. Red Farmer, original member of the Alabama gang. And Red, I can't tell you, man, I'll soon be 50 years old, and I feel like a kid in the candy store, man. Being able to talk to you, it has just, it's incredible to do that. I've been a fan for a long time. And Red, I'm going to change gears a little bit here. Everybody knows that you were around that iconic group of people from Hueytown, Alabama. You made mention of Bobby and Donnie Allison. Of course, Neil Bonnet was a part of that, and Bobby's sons, Clifford and Davey. But
Right.
A hot summer day. As a matter of fact, it was July the 12th, 1993. Sadly, there was an event that happened that I think would probably go down, at least in my mind, as one of the greatest beginnings to a loss and a tragedy. A lot of people know that there was a helicopter crash, and sadly, Davey Allison succumbed to his injuries just a few years later. A lot of people probably do not know, in that crash, you got banged up pretty good too. I saw that you had a broken collarbone, you had a few broken ribs, and you know, this is absolutely up to you. We're not asking you to do anything or say anything that doesn't feel comfortable, but not too many times do I get a chance to talk to a Hall of Fame racer that's still out there winning. But Red, how did that change your life that day? That had to have been a major event in your life. Can you tell us and give us a little bit of a look inside to what that was like?
Well, it'd have to go back a long ways, because I went to Bobby's wedding when he married Judy in Miami Springs. Bobby used to be in my crew before he ever started driving. He helped me on my cars and stuff. And I went to his wedding when they got married. So I've been around. I was there when all of his kids were Clifford and Carrie and Bonnie and Davey. All of them was born. I've known all of them since they was born. And Bobby's shop is only probably 300 yards from my house. Our properties join each other, my house and Bobby's house. And then our shop was over there. Then I was Davey's crew chief on the nationwide circuit at that particular time. So we just kept our race cars right over there in that shop there in Hueytown, which I could throw a rock from my backyard and hit it. And that's how close I was with all of them things. I was more or less, Bobby was off running the cup races and stuff, and so was Donnie at the time. And then Davey was just coming up in the sportsman and street stocks and stuff. And I was running Birmingham. They've been running the short tracks mostly, and I was racing Birmingham, and Davey was coming out there. So naturally, I kind of took over the father image of Davey and helped him, on his cars when he had problems, this, that, and other, and kind of he came up through the ranks out there racing with me. So I kind of oversees a lot of that stuff. So that's how close me and Davey was. We hunted together, and we went fishing together. And he was more like a son to me. He just was close, and Clifford was too. But Clifford was a little bit late coming in than Davey was. But I saw Davey grow up in the shop over there with Bobby, and Bobby didn't give him no easy way to go. He had to sweep. He'd come over to me and tell me how mad he was because his daddy, because he had to clean the shop, sweeping the floors and stuff like that. But Davey was a complete thing. He could take 2 pieces of angle iron and he could build you a race car out of it. He could put the motors together. He could paint them. He could tune them up. He could wire them up. He could do everything. And he learned everything the hard way, opening the shop, working with his dad. Because, his dad made him do all that stuff. So Davey was a unique man, and I think that's one reason he was such a great driver. He understood the cars and everything about them. And when he could also relate back to a crew chief, what the problem was, he didn't tell the crew chief the car's not handling. He'd tell him what he thought it was or what it would take to fix it. So that's the reason he was great. He could work with the crew chiefs, and they could come up with a good solution. So I got his picture sitting there right by my phone in the shop, and I see it every day with me and him and Bobby's picture sitting up on the wall. And as days go by, I don't think about Davey, and when I go hunting and fishing, I always think about him, and just imagine where he would have been now if he'd have been in racing, how many championships he would have won by now.
Yeah, I agree, Red. How often do you see Bobby and the other members of the family? Are you still in touch with them?
Oh yeah, I talked to Bobby, and I see him mostly, Bobby and Donnie, when they dedicated the back straightaway at Talladega and call it the Alabama Game Super Stretch, and so we've got the whole back straightaway at Talladega named after our Alabama gang, which is quite an honor, and they was down for that. And I see them doing Talladega weekends, and usually when they go to Daytona, and places like that. They both, of course, live up in Charlotte now. So, and Donnie lives in Salisbury. So they don't get to see much to do. We keep in touch, talk once in a while, and I run into them at the 2 or 3 races a year, something like that. And I go up there. We went up to a couple of charities in Charlotte to raise money for stuff, and did autograph sessions. Bonnie kind of handles all the Alabama gang stuff, and the 3 of us still go around and do autograph sessions together as a group at fairs and stuff like that.
Well said, Red. First of all, let me tell everybody that is maybe just tuning in, guys. We appreciate you spending a little time with us at the Deep Dixie Racing Report tonight, and we are joined on the line right now by Hall of Famer and racing legend, Mr. Red Farmer, original member of the Alabama gang. And Red, you know, I got to tell you, man, just listening to you talk about Davey, there are just some things that bear witness in your heart. And when you talk about that young man, I got to tell you, I don't know what it is, but just hearing what you had to say makes me feel better about it. It really does. Does anybody else feel that? It just comforts me. And I know that in 67 years of racing, there's been some very, very good times. There's been some very, very hard times, and I know that was one of them. But thank you for sharing that with us. Let me change gears here for a minute. Red, what is the craziest thing you've ever seen in racing in 67 years?
The craziest thing?
Yeah, I don't care what it is, man, but it just race related. What's happened?
Well, I can tell you one thing that people came that was, I thought was crazy. Well, it's funny too, I guess. Back then when we had those 137 cars running on Daytona Beach, we was laying down on the beach course, and they told us to drive up the beach about a quarter of a mile and go up on the old A1A highway, and go down about a half a block and go into the Neptune Drive-In Theater. And that's where we was going to be inspected. And we drove our race cars up there and went down into the entrance to the Neptune Drive-In Theater, turned left and went over in front of the popcorn stand and where the projector was at. And the inspectors come out of the popcorn stand and looked our cars over a little bit here. It took them about 30 seconds. Put us up to the mark on the roof, and we drove them back to the racetrack, out through the exit and went back to the racetrack. And that's how far NASCAR has come.
Man, what was it like having all that sand?
Imagine driving and going through a drive-in theater, going to the popcorn stand and have the NASCAR people come out and check your car.
I'm loving it, man. I'm loving the name Neptune, man. That was the real deal back in the day, wasn't it? Red, when you were running.
Nowadays, if they gave them that much freedom, they'd have another motor man in the truck. So.
I feel you, man. Back in those early days at Daytona, what did that sand and all of that do to a motor, man? I mean, I'm guessing the filter wasn't quite as good back then and all that, and the intakes was a good race motor good for about one race on the beach.
Well, the races on the beach was unique. We ran there up till they built the Super Speedway in '59. It was such a unique racetrack at Daytona on the beach because we ran 2 miles down the beach on there, and you could run 10 or 11 wide going down the straightaway. Then you had to go into a high bank turn that was real sharp, about like Martinsville, and then you had to hit the asphalt, and you come back A1A for 2 miles on that. And it was so narrow and so bumpy that if you bounced around twice the same direction, you had 2 wheels in the palmettos in the sand going down the road. You could not hardly pass the guy. If you had to pass him and all stayed the wheels on it, you had to almost rub the paint off of it to get by him.
Man.
Down the back straightaway.
Incredible.
So it was unique when they built the new Super Speedway. So, of course, I ran there every year till 1992 before I finally stopped running the Super Speedways there.
Gotcha. We're joined by NASCAR Hall of Famer, Dirt Track Hall of Famer. He was voted one of the 50 greatest drivers in NASCAR history back in 1998. He's won 752 races. And for those of you that may be wondering, man, if you do the math, that's somebody got to be racing their whole life. Where you're right, he has been racing 67 years, and his name is Red Farmer, part of the Alabama gang. Red, I tell you what, man, I have been looking forward to this, and I want to ask you something. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, but I want to know, is it okay if we can work it out schedule-wise? Can we get part 2 of our conversation? And maybe, Dale, is that okay if we can do that? We know you're busy and there's a lot of demand on your time, but we would sure love to have you back again. And there's so many things that we didn't even get to tonight. Do you think there's a chance we could get you back before this year is over, buddy?
Yeah, you can give me back the buzz and, you know, let me know. Like I said, tonight, during the week, like I say, after supper, then I'd be glad to talk to y'all again. So don't be no problem. You know, you were saying the short track is true, but that's one thing that I'm real proud of, that I won the Punkatex 300 at Daytona Super Speedway, and I won 2 ARCA 500s at Talladega Super Speedway. So I did win 3 Super Speedway races.
Wow, that's incredible, man. That is incredible. And, you know, Red, we are just all fans. We all appreciate what you have meant to our sport. When you have the legacy that you have, as soon as we started tossing the idea around that we wanted to get you on for an interview, man, people immediately became interested. And I just want to say to you, thank you for all that you've done and that you continue to do. You know, you're at a point in your career, you don't even have to mess with interviews like this, but you took some time out for us. And that story that you told us about Davey Allison, those of you that are watching and maybe you just tuned in mid-conversation, Mr. Red Farmer on the line with us has done an excellent interview. You'll be able to go back and revisit that on DeepDixieRacing.com, and you can find where to start and whatever, and you can hear Mr. Red talk about that. But Red, thank you so much for your honesty, your candid, and man, letting us get a look inside what it's like to be a part of that. Well, I mean, I'm going to go ahead and say it. That's the most famous group of people in racing. I don't care who it is, the Alabama gang, man.
Yep.
I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. And we really appreciate you taking time out, Red, and hopefully we can do this again real soon, buddy.
All right, we'll do. Just give me back a buzz, okay?
All right. Well, God bless you, sir, and our best to you in the 2015 season.
You know, one other thing I real quick like, you know, one other thing, I've got the longest sponsorship in racing. I've had Long Lewis Ford on my car for 52 years.
Wow. Long Lewis? Wow. That's incredible, man. How many cars you reckon you've sold for them?
Sponsor for 52 years, and it was on a handshake in 1962. Man, never been a word put on a piece of paper. Just we shook hands in 1962, and that's where it's been.
Man, that's the good old days, ain't it?
Yep, that's where you should be able to do business.
I know, man. I know, buddy. Well, God bless you, Mr. Farmer. We hope that you have a good evening, buddy, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
All right. Okay. We'll do it.
All right. Good night.
Good
Folks, that is one of the best interviews, not because I was a part of it, but, I mean, you know, it's one thing to hear people talk about something, but this man has lived it. And you have seen, he has seen probably more than most people we say has forgotten about. And this man will be 83 years old his next birthday. And he's still out racing, man. He qualified a super late model. What did he say, 12th? And ended up finishing 7th.
With a super car now.
Yeah.
Not
This is
crazy.
a super late model. And if you want to see a super late model, you need to go to East Alabama Motor Speedway and watch those guys ride the rim on the high banks. And
which he at Talladega Short Track normally super late model class. Now they didn't mean 12th. He was probably last. They was usually about 20 cars.
Oh yeah. Well, I tell you what, man, it has been an awesome show thus far. I've got a little past 8:30. We're on the home stretch. If you're just joining us, we're coming to you live from our friends with the Rescue Smokehouse Grill down on exit 75. Guys, they're open for business until 10 o'clock tonight. The food is excellent. I've had a steak. I've had some barbecue. I know Dale has had a barbecue potato. We've had a few other people that have had suppers out here. This food is good. It's very affordable. Raymond and Amy Poor, they moved their business from downtown Ashburn over to exit 75. It's very, very easy. If you are traveling south on 75, take exit 75. As soon as you come up the ramp, look to your right, there they are. And so these people are award-winning barbecue cookers. As a matter of fact, on that note, before we go to break, this coming weekend in nearby Ashburn, Georgia, it will be the Fire Ant Festival. I didn't know we had a Fire Ant Festival.
I've heard them all.
But I tell you what, man, when one fire ant can do more to you, you will think that you are on fire for that one little insect. But the Fire Ant Festival going to be held in Ashburn, and they're going to have a lot of big-time hitters in the barbecue cooking world. Of course, Rescue Smokers here. By the way, the name Rescues originated. Raymond was a first responder before he moved into the restaurant business. They're going to be there. Jack's Old South out of Unadilla, the Checkered Pig out of Virginia, Holy Smokes out of Dublin, Georgia, the Budmeisters, Lake City, Florida, the Killer Bees out of Augusta, and many, many more top-notch cookers. If you want to check out some good barbecue, have some good South Georgia fun, come on out to Ashburn, Georgia for the Fire Ant Festival. Man, it's been a great, great show thus far. We're not done yet. Our thanks to Mike Head, our thanks to Mr. Kenney, and our thanks Chad Tuten and Mr. Red Farmer, man. An awesome, awesome show thus far. We're going to take a short time out, and we're going to come back and bring this thing down the home stretch. We're going to be talking to Carolyn and Leo Johnson about a big race they've got coming up this coming weekend at Waycross Motor Speedway. And Carolyn, did I see you with some names in a hat? We're going to be drawing a little bit later on for what we talked about last weekend when Michael Davis and Kyle Livengood was here with us. Great job to those guys if they're watching. So we've got a lot to get done in the last half hour of the show. We hope that you'll stay tuned. We'll be back with much more from Rescue's Smokehouse Grill with the Deep Dixie Racing Report, brought to you by 5-Star Hyundai of Warner Robins. We'll be back in a few. All right, once again, we want to welcome everybody back to the Deep Dixie Racing Report, brought to you by 5-Star Hyundai, 650 Russell Parkway in Warner Robins, Georgia. And Brian, this has been an absolutely great show. I know this won't be our last, thankfully and hopefully, but if this were the last show, man, this has been one for the record books. Incredible guest. Our thanks to Mr. Kenney, who joined us right out of the box. He is the director of the United Dirt Late Model Series, rolling in to Waycross Motor Speedway this weekend. Guys, you don't want to miss that one. Going to be a real good one. A really nice young driver, Chad Tuten. Yep. He's an E-Mod driver. We call it a modified driver. Scored a big win at Golden Isles here to kick off the season right. He's going to be racing his modified down at Waycross. And then we put back-to-back Hall of Fame drivers together. Mike Head joined us with some incredible stuff, man. We talked a little bit about family, talked a little bit about racing. And Mike, if you're still tuned in, we're praying for Carolyn, buddy, and thank you so much. You did a great job. And we just got off the line with Mr. Red Farmer, a Hall of Fame driver. This gentleman is 82, about to be 83 years old, and still racing. Just finished 7th in a super late model at Talladega Short Track. Incredible history. Told us a little bit about his relationship to the Allison family, in particular Davey Allison, that we lost back in 1993. Just an all-around great lineup of guests, and the list continues to go on. If you're just joining us, thank you for tuning in. We're going to be here till 9, maybe a little bit later. We had more interviews than we thought, and so we're going to make a little bit of room. We're willing to hang in here if you guys are, and we appreciate you joining us. On the line now is a gentleman that comes from our neck of the woods. His hometown is Elizela, Georgia. If you know where Macon is, just on the outskirts of Macon. He is the driver of the 50V in the sportsman class. He is our 2013 Sportsman Points champion. We're joined on the line right now by Mr. Montie Vaughn. Monty, how you doing, buddy?
Oh, pretty good.
Glad that you come on to be with us, man. First things first, I want to congratulate you. We opened up the season at Cochran Motor Speedway this past weekend. And, Monty, I believe we had about a dozen sportsman cars, maybe a little bit more. And you had some really tough competition. And you led wire to wire, man, to score to win. Tell us how important it is to get out of the box with a lot of momentum like that.
Oh, it really feels good. It's good to have a good, fast race car, good pit crew, and it really felt good the first of the year.
Absolutely. Monty, you have had pretty much the same group of people working with you for a long time now. Is that right?
Yeah, there's about 4 or 5 guys that come over and help me pretty regular.
I got you. Now, for those of you that are just tuning in, we're joined on the line right now by sportsman driver Montie Vaughn. Calls Cochran Motor Speedway his home track, although Monty does usually make it over to the big races at East Alabama. And Monty, I know that you've been doing this for a long time. For those that may not know your history, right now you run in the sportsman and you occasionally run a late model race. But how did you get started in racing?
My family's been in racing since probably 1957. My grandma used to race in the powder puff races. I've got pictures of an old 57 Chevrolet, and my grandfather used to race sprint cars, and he raced up until he flipped his car down the backstretch and broke his back. I've been around racing a long time.
Yeah. Now, with the sportsman division, I know that a few years back, and this is just coming from an observation from a race fan, I thought for a while there that we were going to lose that sportsman class, man. It seemed like it just dwindled and dwindled. And over the past, I'll say probably the last 2, this will make the 3rd year, it seems like the sportsman division, and wherever your track is, you may call it something different, the limited late models or whatever. Monty, what do you think, being a stalwart in the sportsman division, what caused that fall off, and more importantly, what caused it to get back up and running like it is now?
I'm not real sure why it fell off. It's like any other class. It kind of does a little transfer. And we, you know, when I first started, it was called hobby, and I don't know. There's not very many builders, I don't think, building the stock cliff cars, and it's kind of transforming. You know, from everybody's buying up the late models now and putting 602s in it and racing. It just kind of I think it does it in all the classes.
For those of you that are just joining us, we're on the line with Montie Vaughn. He is a track champion at Cochran Motor Speedway. We kicked off our season just this past weekend. Montie started on the front row. He led every lap. He had some stiff competition. Josh Taylor in the 14 car, always a strong competitor. Josh has won often at Cochran. And Montie, for those that may not be real familiar with you, you guys run a Barry Wright. Am I right about that?
Yeah, me and Josh run a Barry Wright.
Okay. And who's the motor man for the 50V team?
Well, I usually build my own motors.
Okay.
I've got a motor in it that I bought from a guy named Charlie Waller right now, but usually I build my own motors.
Okay. Now, when I think of Montie Vaughn, immediately I think of the sportsman division. And Montie, you've been running a long time, and I don't think that I have ever personally been to East Alabama when they've had the nationals or the state race or even the Bama Bash. You've run some of those bigger races, and you've done real well, and you've been consistent. What would you call the biggest win of your career so far?
I've won the Dale Earnhardt Memorial race over in Alabama. I really, that was one of the bigger races. I won a big race in Cochran. I think it was the 4th of July race. I've never won a state or a national over in Alabama. I'd really like to win one of them.
I know, man. I know. Montie, occasionally, and when I say occasionally, I'm thinking, even as I'm asking the question, it's only been maybe 2 times, if my memory serves me. But you do have a late model car, and you pick and choose when you're going to start. But do you have any plans to bring that late model out this year?
Yeah, I was thinking about bringing it this weekend. It all depends on who wants to help, and it's just two cars is a lot of work.
Right.
Now, Montie, do y'all run the crate, or do you want to run a built motor in your jig car?
Built motor.
Okay.
I'm working on a crate car now. I'm not through with it yet, but just as soon as I get through with it, I will bring it down there.
Y'all running Barry Wright with that too?
No, it's a master built chassis in that car. Okay. I'm gonna try something a little different.
There you go.
Well, Montie, I know that you were our track champion in 2013, and you always seem to be in the hunt pretty much every single year. Are you guys going to branch out a little bit from Cochran this year, or are you pretty much going to come back and do the same thing you've done in years past? Are you guys going to plan to run there pretty much every weekend, and are you points racing?
All my pit crew want me to points race. I probably will. We'll just have to see how things go. You never know when you tear something up, or it makes you kind of change your plans. But we're going to try to run the points this year. Yeah,
ladies and gentlemen, we're joined on the line right now with Mr. Montie Vaughn. He is a sportsman driver. Occasionally, will bring out the late model car down in Cochran Motor Speedway. You will recognize that car. The number is 50V. Montie hails from Lizella, Georgia, just outside of Macon, Georgia. And Montie, I really do appreciate you taking time to join us, man. And the times that I've been able to talk to you, we have a little part of the program that we call Behind the Wheel. And I'll bring up a driver each weekend, and we'll spend 10, 15 minutes with him. And Montie, you've always been well-spoken. And you've got a great resume when it comes to racing, man. We wish you the very best down at Cochran Motor Speedway this year and all the other places that you may be planning on going. And thank you so much for taking time out to be with us, man. Any final comments?
Oh, just still looking for that lead.
I'll tell y'all about that later when we get. I hear you, Montie. Well, listen, man, we thank you so much for joining us. God bless you. Tell your family that we said hello and tell your pit crew that when I get back, I'm going to fight them, all right?
All right.
All right, Monty, we'll see you. Ladies and gentlemen, Montie Vaughn, sportsman driver down at Cochran Motor Speedway, and really a super nice guy. Monty's been in the game for a long time, and I tell you, he's a well-spoken guy. They're out there grinding it out every single weekend. And, yeah, he has. Yes. He really has. And, you know, Monty's not one to sandbag. He's going to go out there and try to get it every week. That's the reason why he's saying the crew wants him to points race. But Monty's all about winning, man. Good job, Monty. We appreciate it. Guys, we've got a pleasant surprise here tonight. Of course, we're coming to you live from the Rescue Smokehouse Grill. I'm joined by my good friends, Mr. Dale Hall, behind the camera back there, taking care of the technical side. Carolyn and Leo Johnson, also a part of the team. My good buddy, Brian Hester. By the way, Brian, thank you for what you do, man. This guy spends a lot of time, drives a lot of miles to bring us some updates, and he's going to do that before the show is over. And tonight, during the break, I was honored to meet, and I know I've called his name before, but was able to meet him for the first time. He's a late model driver, got a good, rich history of racing. We're being joined live right now by Mr. Bailey Harris. Bailey, it's good to have you, man.
Glad to be.
Yeah, first of all, tell us, for those that are joining us out here that may not know who you are and how your racing got started, give us an idea of how things got kicked off and your plans for the 2015 season.
We started racing go-karts when I was 6. We won 3 national championships, numerous state championships, not real sure the amount of those. When I was 15, Benji Sumner, Ben Sumner, Scott Sumner, rich history in racing. They allowed me to run a car. Actually, I was 13 when I got in a mini stock car at Cordell Speedway. We had some success with that. At 15, we got in a hobby car. Dan Broom built it for me. A lot of y'all probably know him. It was a great car. Ran it a little while, had some success. Brakeman Bagwell put me in a late model. I was still 15. Didn't have a driver's license. It was a handful, but it was a lot of fun. We won our 3rd race. Instant success, but I got in a good car that, you know, that was already performing well, and that, you know, it meant the world to me for him to put me in that car. And that kind of got the ball rolling on the late model scene. Ran them hard probably till I was 19. Had a lot of success in Russell Brown stuff then. He built me a new car. And when I quit at 19, I was in college, didn't have a lot of time to maintain the cars. Went drag racing, played on the bracket scene with dragsters, roadsters. Had a lot of fun, was successful with that also. A few years ago, I bought a rocket car from Brett Carter. Started putting it together, and I think Kevin Beaver got wind that I was wanting to get back on the late model scene, asked me to drive for him. He had built my motors back in, you know, the previous run of the late models. Had some success with Kevin, you know, ran good for the last couple of years. One at Dublin, was leading another one last year, and had a fuel pump quit. Long story short, we put our own car together for this year. It's a Russell Brown car, and got a Beaver motor in it. We got some good equipment. We're willing to put in some hard work. We're going to start off at Cochran and run some local shows and see where it goes.
Very good. For those of you that are just joining us, welcome to Deep Dixie Racing Report, brought to you by 5-Star Hyundai, 650 Russell Parkway in Warner Robins. We're joined right now, of course, by my good buddy, couldn't do it without him, Brian Hester, and late model driver Bailey Harris. Now, Bailey, you told us that you kind of got started in go-karts. By the way, Ben and Scott Sumner, some of the best people alive, man. Scott is actually our race director at Cochran this year, and Ben Sumner, you'll not find a better person than Ben. And Ben, if you're watching, I consider Ben to be one of my best friends in racing. But let me get back to the go-karts real quick. You had some early on success. Now, did you run at Mr. Carl Williams' place in Dexter, and have you ever run it at Mr. Wade Murphy's place in Jasper?
I don't think Dexter had a go-kart track back then. It was so long ago.
Okay.
That was years ago. I mean, I guess I started 25 years ago racing go-karts. Wade Murphy's racetrack was pretty much my local track.
Okay.
We went to Valdosta some, but Jasper was where we went to practice to get ready for the national events. And that's one of the best racetracks that I've ever been to.
I agree.
The management. I'll just never forget racing there. We went to a national event there one time, and flipped the go-kart in practice and qualified on pole and won the race in another
Wow.
go-kart.
That's incredible.
Never forget that.
On that note, Mr. Carl Williams and his wife Pat have a track in Dexter. It's about 20 minutes from Cochran. Really nice facility. And through that, I was working during the off season, and I met Mr. Wade Murphy. Brian Mansfield, who's also a friend of mine. Brian was promoting some races, and actually, I've had the privilege of announcing at the last 2 World 100s. Man, a little plug for Mr. Wade Murphy and Crossroads Motorplex. Guys, if you want to see some awesome go-kart racing here in Middle Georgia, go see Mr. Carl Williams at Lawrence County Speedway, and Jasper Crossroads Motorplex in Jasper, Florida, just down the road a little ways. Wade Murphy, man, they got an awesome place down there, and hopefully before this year is over with, I'll be able to get Mr. Wade on an interview. But we're really glad to have you now. Real quick before we let you go, you mentioned that you've kind of just merged back into it after being away from it, getting your education, doing a little drag racing and so forth. Are you guys, do you have a plan and a strategy for 2015, or you just playing it by ear week to week?
Just playing it by ear. We've got one built motor and one crate motor. And as long as the built motor will live, we want to run the built motor.
Mm-hmm.
And then if we have to go crate racing, we will. Just want to win some races.
Mm-hmm.
Just going to try to work hard this year. Try to run a lot of shows. I think some success will come because we're involved with some good people with the chassis and motor. We'll be okay.
Very good.
He was over in Braxton and Cochran.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We're joined right now by late model driver Bailey Harris. We're glad to have him with us. It was a pleasant surprise, and anybody that happens to be near exit 75, guys, you're welcome to come sit in with us. You can see us broadcast live. Grab you something really good to eat. The food is just absolutely marvelous here. Award-winning cookers here at the Smokehouse Grill, or Rescue Smokehouse Grill, and Raymond and Amy and their staff do a great job. And Bailey, thanks for coming to join us, man. And best of luck to you in 2015. Tell you what, if you want to see if we can track down John Kellum, so we're going to shift. Just in case you're joining us, we are going to get a few phone interviews in. John Kellum right now, and we're going to try to get a hold of John Michael Schmear before we get out of here on the Deep Dixie Racing Report.
Hello.
John, Pastor Todd Sharon, Deep Dixie Racing Report. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How y'all doing tonight?
We're doing great, man. And first of all, we want to say thank you for joining us tonight, and we appreciate you taking time out to be with us. I know that you've got a big year ahead of you, and it looks like that you are getting started in a big way. You're going into Waycross this weekend for that United Dirt Late Model Series race. You scored the win at North Florida. You also backed that up with Volusia Speedway Park, man. Got to feel good with the momentum that you got right now going into Waycross.
Yes, sir. Been working hard, and just trying to keep our heads on straight, and just working hard at what we love to do.
I hear you, man. Those of you that are just tuning in, we're joined on the phone live right now by late model driver John Kellum. Already 2 wins to his credit this year, North Florida Speedway and Volusia Raceway Park. You'll be able to see John and all of the others with the United Dirt Late Model Series as they roll into Waycross Speedway this coming weekend. Going to be a big card of racing there. Going to also have the All-Star Stock Car Series, Carolyn and Leo Johnson Series. We talked earlier with a young man who was very well-spoken, Chad Tuten. He drives an E-Mod or a modified car. There is going to be a ton of racing down at Waycross Motor Speedway this weekend, and hopefully you'll be able to get out there and take some of that in. John, if I'm not mistaken, did I see you on dirtondirt.com?
Yes, sir. Yes, they had it on there from the United race. They do a pretty good
Man,
deal.
that's a big deal, dude. You get on dirtondirt.com, that's a big deal. Now, for those of you that maybe just joined us, we're on the line with late model driver John Kellum. John, give us an idea where you're from and what you guys plan to do for the 2015 season. I know that getting started in a great way in the United Dirt Late Model Series, you're going to be running that, obviously, but where else are you going to be running if somebody wants to come see you race?
Mainly, we'll hit all the United Dirt Late Model races and, some local shows, maybe Volusia, Ocala, North Florida Speedway. We'll just hit races around our area and, mainly stick to, Ken Series there.
Gotcha. Where's your hometown, John?
I'm based out of Clay Hill, Florida. We're about 30 minutes, from Jacksonville.
Okay. All right. Well, Brian?
John, what I noticed the race. I watched the race from North Florida. Boy, that was an impressive run. I'll tell you what. But after a little bit of controversy on the track there, you just seemed like you just lit that thing on fire. What brand of chassis you running? Who's your motor builder?
We run Masterwood race cars, and got to thank Ethan Tater for all they do for us. And got Byron Corey. He builds our motors and does an awesome job there. With those.
Yeah. Well, that was an impressive run. I tell you that to come back and then jumped up on the outside and come on to the front. That was a heck of a run.
Yes, sir. Thank you there.
Well, John, we know that coming up this weekend. Is this the actual third race of the season with the United Dirt Late Models?
Yes.
And so they had the North Florida race. So you've won the first two out of the box, man. What kind of history do you have at Waycross, and how do you like racing there?
Waycross ain't too bad. It's there towards the end of the night. It might get a little one lane around the bottom, but usually we're pretty decent up there. Hopefully going this weekend, with roll it been on and try to see what we can do.
That would be unbelievable, man. If you could score the hat trick coming out of the box, that doesn't.
3 different types of tracks. Really.
Absolutely, man. I was thinking the same thing, Brian. When you get up in that South Georgia area, it's just a whole different surface, man. Yeah. And but John, before we let you get out of here, man, I know that no one can do it without the help of a lot of people, sponsors and family, that sort of thing. Now's an opportunity for you to give those guys some love.
Yes, sir. I got to thank Mom and Dad. They helped me out, since I was a kid racing. And Kellum Hall, and that's our family business. We got some dump trucks, and another main guy, Jet Concrete. He's based out of Orange Park, Florida. Helps me out. And Top Notch Custom Concepts, Brian Green. He keeps the car looking good. I got to thank Chris at Midwest Sheet Metal. He's out of Springfield, Missouri, and helps us out, with spores and stuff. And Kaiser Manufacturing, Integra Shops, Little Brian does an awesome job on her stuff there. And Steve Dorr, race car engineering, Dennis of the Show and Field Headers, always treats us good on all his products there. Simpson Race Products, Robert at Butler Built all my seats and everything he does for us. Sweet Manufacturing, Carson at KB Carburetors, TV Racing, Wrap-In Racing Oil, Spike at Wildwood, and Gerald Newton got a race. He come on board with us, and hopefully get some shirts going there soon and try to get some fancy shirts there for him.
Okay. Well said, man. Great job running your sponsors down. And John, you've come out of the box firing, man. And we hope that you have a great rest of the year. Our best to you and your team. Thank you for taking time out of your busy week to join us. And folks, for those of you that want to see some good racing, head on down to Waycross, Georgia. The United Dirt Late Model Challenge Series going to stop there. It'll be race number 3 on their schedule. We're also going to have our All-Star Stock Car Series race down there this weekend. Carolyn and Leo Johnson. Modified's going to be running. There's going to be another whole supporting cast that will fill up that program. Going to be a great, great night of racing down in South Georgia, Waycross Motor Speedway. John, thanks again for your time, buddy. Best of wishes going into the 2015 season from here on out. Maybe we can do this again soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you. It was
honor to be on the same show with that Red Farmer and that Mike Kidd. Mike was a household name, you know, growing up as a kid, going to them racing magazines and won a bunch of races in the South, you know. So
right on, man.
Radio.
Right on. You came on a good night, no doubt. Well, we hope you have a good one, buddy. God bless you to you and your family, and we'll talk again real soon.
Yes, sir. Same to y'all.
Thank you. All right.
Yes, sir.
We say goodbye to John Kellum. I tell you what, man, it doesn't matter what you run. I'm serious. If you're a go-kart racer, right on up to a super late model, throw in Sprint Cup, if you can win back-to-back races, that's almost unheard of anymore. And John going after 3 in a row, and you got to feel like this guy's confidence is at an all-time high. Guys, we're going to do something a little bit different right now. Carolyn Johnson is going to come up and break dance. So you stay tuned in. No.
Get it, girl. Go, girl.
All right. All right. Carolyn, tell us, turn around and tell the camera what we're about to do right now.
We're going to draw for one kid to win, come into the pits this weekend at Waycross, and then they get to meet the drivers, get their picture taken with the winner, and get all the autographs and everything. And Kyle and Michael are going to upgrade their grandstand passes to pit passes for them and their family. So.
Okay. Yeah, we talked about this last weekend, and so if you put your name on DeepDixieRacing.com, Carolyn's got everybody's name that registered there, and we're going to draw out of the hat and just see.
Deep Dixie hat too.
Yeah, this is a Deep Dixie hat.
Draw for me, Bailey. Who do we get?
Parker Scurry.
Parker Scurry.
Parker Scurry. Parker, if you or your family, you are our winner of the Waycross upgrade pass, thanks to Michael Davis and Kyle Livingood. And so Parker Scurry, if you're watching, man, you won, buddy. So get in touch with the folks there at Waycross when you get there, and they'll tell you how to get your prize upgraded. Guys, we're going just a tad over tonight, and if there was ever a reason to go over, talking to Red Farmer, Mike Head, and these other guys, man, what a great group of interviews we've had. Our thanks to Mr. Kenney. He is the director of the United Dirt Late Model Challenge Series going to Waycross. Chad Tuten, young man that came on, told us a lot about that modified racing. And then we had back-to-back interviews. It doesn't get any better than that. And, guys, I'm going to tell you, the racing that Mike Head taught was great. I could talk to him for days about that. But that man's testimony is what shines. Yes. It just shines to me. So our thanks to Mike. And then Mr. Red Farmer, 82 years old out there. That is unbelievable. I hope I can walk when I'm 82. Yep. And Mr. Farmer is out there driving a super late model. And look, he is not just out there hanging on. This guy is still a winner. And oh, absolutely, man. And keep an eye on Talladega Short Track. You can find him there often. Also, our thanks to a good personal friend of mine, Montie Vaughn. And we just got done talking to John Kellum, and he did a great job. We're going to wrap things up tonight, at least for the interview section. So just hang in here with us for another few minutes. We're going to see if we can get a hold of John Michael Schmear right now. And John Michael went to the tail end of the line. And before we get out of here, we're going to get Carolyn and Leo up here. Let them talk to us a little bit about their big race coming up at Waycross with the All-Star Stock Car Series. John, Pastor Todd Sharon, Deep Dixie Racing Report. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good.
All right, man. Thanks for joining us tonight. First of all, let me make sure that I'm pronouncing your name right. John Michael Schmear. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Good deal. Listen, right out of the box, you got a big win. When I went to Daytona Speedway the first time, I was absolutely amazed at the size of the track, at the banking of the track. I can say the same thing about East Alabama. I had passed East Alabama several times over in Phoenix City, and I saw it from a distance. But the first time I actually went to East Alabama Motor Speedway, I actually did the national anthem and the prayer. I could not believe how banked the track was. And you're in the hobby class over there. And you scored the win this past week at East Alabama Motor Speedway, man. Congrats on that win. Tell us about it.
It was definitely a good win. The track's definitely a very fast track. If you get your car dialed in, it's a very good track to be at. Car count was down a little bit. Other than that, it's looking pretty good.
Very good. Now, John, when we talk about a hobby class over at East Alabama, I believe the same class at Cochran is called Pure Stock. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, I know that you being a Pure Stock hobby driver, that you are familiar with the All-Star Stock Car Series that Carolyn Johnson put on. It is a series that actually caters to a hobby class. And, you know, I got to tell you, we've seen late model series forever and ever. We still got a lot of them. And then we've seen a person that comes to my mind is Bobby Piper.
Yeah.
Bobby and Kim Piper. They've got a Super Street series, but there was really nothing for that particular class. And I can tell you at Cochran that week in and week out, the Pure Stock division or the hobby class is probably one of the strongest classes. But John, do you plan on running any of those All-Star Stock Car Series races this year?
No, sir. A couple of those cars actually come to East Alabama during the state national, and they run with us. Cars run pretty good to be what they are.
Mm-hmm.
I know Tyler Brown, he runs in that class.
Right.
And he's strong. He's a good running car.
Yeah.
I think he finished third, I think, in the state race. Pretty good run for him. So.
Right. Now,
pretty good climb.
Where we are from at Cochran, John, when I think of Pure Stock and hobby, for years and years, a Camaro dominated that class. I mean, absolutely spanked everybody. And then there was a few long wheelbase Monte Carlos that come out here, and I would say probably the last 5 years. Yeah. Those little short wheelbase Monte Carlos, man, absolutely fast. I mean, wicked fast. Now, what kind of car do you drive? And as far as your sponsors, John, what can you tell us about that?
It's a Monte Carlo train. I actually got it redone up at it's called Hopkins in Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty good car. He also does Sam Moore and Nick Marshall's car. He's pretty good up there. Those Camaros, they're just kind of out of date, really. They cut the front clip off and make a clip car out of a Camaro.
Right.
And then they run hobby with it.
Right.
And those cars seem to do pretty good.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, that's pretty much all the cars you got is clip car Camaros and Monte Carlo.
Right. Now, I know that East Alabama is your home track, but do you ever venture out and race anywhere else?
Well, we've been to a couple of different places like Tuten and Talladega short track and just a couple odd man tracks around this area where we hadn't really ventured off far.
For those of you that are just tuning in, thank you once again. Week 3 of the Deep Dixie Racing Report brought to you by 5-Star Hyundai, 650 Russell Parkway. We're on the line right now with hobby driver John Michael Schmear, who scored a win last weekend at East Alabama Motor Speedway. John, we really do appreciate you taking time, hanging in here with us, man. Like we told John Kellum just a moment ago, you picked a good night to be on the show with Hall of Famers Red Farmer and Mike Head joining us as well as other drivers. But our best to you, your family, and your entire race team for the 2015 season. Congrats on that big win last weekend on the high banks at Phoenix City, East Alabama Motor Speedway. We hope that we get a chance to do this again real soon, buddy. And God bless you and have a good evening.
Thank you all very much. Anytime, just give me a call.
Very good, buddy. Have a good one. Folks, that is John Michael Schmear coming on to join us. And we are on, I think we probably would call this a green-white checker.
Yep.
We're running over just a little bit, but that's okay. We had a lot to get to. And I can tell you, man, talking to Mike Head, Red Farmer, that was the fastest 30 minutes probably of my life. It just was gone. I tell you what we need to do here. I know that Carolyn and Leo are here close by, and this weekend, Brian, thanks for your help,
Yes, sir.
man. And I know you've got a little rundown. We may get to that, Bailey. Thank you. God bless you, man, and best of luck 2015. We're going to change gears here real quick. While I'm waiting on Carolyn and Leo to come on and join me, let me give my friends here at the Rescue Smokehouse Grill a little bit of love. Raymond and Amy Poor, right here on exit 75. If you're going south on Interstate 75, make a right-hand exit there. As soon as you come up the exit ramp, literally look to your right and just maybe 100 yards or less, you'll see the Rescue's Smokehouse Grill. They have award-winning barbecue cooking experience. I've had their barbecue. I've also had their steaks. I love this place. There's a good vibe here. If you come, you can come and be relaxed. It's a very casual environment. The food is good. And what's incredible, I challenge you, go and check out other barbecue restaurants. I enjoy eating barbecue, and I can tell you the prices are very reasonable. They have specialty items here, and they stay open till 10 o'clock. So Pastor Todd has made you good and hungry. You got 45 minutes to get down here and pound you some barbecue from the Rescue's Smokehouse Grill. We appreciate them. Don't forget, coming up this weekend in Ashburn, Georgia, which, I don't know, Dale, what is Ashburn? 10 minutes away, 15 minutes away? Ashburn?
About 7.
All right, 7. So not even 10 minutes, okay? They're having the Fire Ant Festival. Now, Carolyn, are you going to be down there clogging barefooted at the fire? All right, that's what I'm talking about. I didn't even know they had no fire ant. What you think, Leo?
I can't clog though.
You can? I can too.
No, I seriously can.
I'm serious too. Get up here and do it.
I will.
All right. Let me get back on track here. All right. We are joined right now by Carolyn and Leo Johnson. These guys, and I tease them a lot, they're part of my team. These guys, along with Dale Hall. Dale, come around in front real quick. Dale likes to stay behind the scenes, but this is my buddy Dale Hall. Carolyn, or Leo and Carolyn, I think I'm backwards on the camera, but these guys started out with Deep Dixie Racing. If you've not visited deepdixieracing.com, you got to go check it out. I've known Dale longer than I've known Leo and Carolyn, but these guys teamed up. And until this year, when Brian Hester came on board to help do a little more of the coverage up north and going into Tennessee and so forth, these three people right here, in my mind, whether or not I ever worked with them on this show or whatever, it was astounding to me how much they got done. I mean, they would literally go in 3 different directions on a busy weekend. You can go to the website, and they have some of the best videos. Carolyn keeps things fun and fresh on there. She wrote a great article about the racing fan. You need to take time to read that. And they have updates. They have anything and everything you could want. When these guys go to a race and you're unable to go, I'm unable to go, they give you real-time information. I'm serious, on Facebook. When there's a caution, who passes, who loses a tire, who comes into the pits, whatever, they keep you up to speed. And out of that philosophy of race coverage, they have started the Deep Dixie Racing Report, obviously sponsored by 5-Star Hyundai of Warner Robins, Mr. Mike Hurd and his award-winning staff up there. Appreciate their help. And on top of all that, you guys are promoting a very successful series called the Stock Car All-Star Stock Car Series, and this is geared for hobbies and pure stocks. You've already had a race this year, and you're about to roll into Waycross Motor Speedway. This is a big deal for y'all, isn't it? You always have a good car count. Tell us a little bit about the history of the All-Star Stock Car Series, and let us in on what's happening this coming weekend at Waycross.
There really ain't much history. 1 year. We had a pretty good year last year. We had our first year, we had a big $10,000 to win race, so that was pretty special for us. But looking at Waycross, just got a call a while ago. Looks like we're going to have cars from Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, Alabama. So we're covering 5 states. So that's pretty good for a hobby stock class.
Very good. Very good. Now, with late model series and the Super Street Series, did y'all have any history in the hobby division, or did you just take a look at where you were visiting and say, you know, look, these guys are the real deal. Everywhere we go, there's a lot of them. We need to do something for them. Is that how it happened?
Yeah, I raced late models for 15 years, so I'm kind of a late model guy. But you know, when you see a product that's good, that's hard, and you see, you know, you can basically take advantage of it and build something off of it. You know, you take that chance, and that's what we did.
With 1 year under your belt, I know you guys learned a lot, and I know that you put on some exciting racing. I have been told that at one of the races, I'm not sure where it was at, but you guys had 51 entries. Is that right?
That was our last one.
And that was held at North Florida. Okay. So, guys, when we talk about a series that's successful, we're not just blowing smoke. In other words, what we're saying is in a pure stock race, there was guys, really good cars that had to load up and didn't make the show. Now, that doesn't happen at a normal Saturday night program. But I can answer both. You can help. What you learned last run North Florida, you run around the South Georgia area. Give us a rundown of the tracks that you guys will be going to.
Golden Isles, Waycross, Cochran, North Florida. We're working on a couple other tracks. We're actually looking at maybe running Cordele, the asphalt track, a non-points race. Maybe setting something up for next year. And there's a couple other racetracks we're in talks with right now. It's kind of late to be scheduling races, but we got to make up for a couple that that we don't have. So right now, that's what we're working with. You know, we're proud of what we have.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So.
Both of you guys being experienced, being around racing, you were a late model driver, Leo, and Carolyn, you're at the races all the time. How much of a leap of faith was it to say, you know, we're going to start something? It's not like you could point your finger at somebody else that had tried this. Was there ever a thought, or did y'all just feel like, man, this is going to work?
Well, he came up with the idea, and he was like, well, do you want to do it? And I said, well, do you want to do it? And he said, well, do you want to do it? And then I said, well, do you want to do it? And so we kind of went back and forth, and then I was like, all right, let's just do it. Let's just do it. And so then we just built it. We the way we have always been, we're kind of adventurers, and we just go by the seat of our pants.
Mm-hmm.
And we did it, and it's been successful, and we've made so many friends, and they've become our family, and I wouldn't trade any of them for anything in the world.
Mm-hmm. Very well said. You know, one thing that I can say, in being around the races for many years, I don't care what the economy does. I don't care how bad things get. Racers are going to race. They may not be able to pay their rent or buy lunch, but they're going to race. And that's not an insult. That's actually me giving props to you, because you got a lot of guts, what I'm trying to say. But no matter what happens, most tracks, I'm guessing, will probably have the standard 5 classes. You may have an occasional mini stock, or like we talked with Chad Tuten, maybe there's a modified class. But usually the tracks that I'm familiar with, you got about 5. And the pure stocks, I would put them probably about middle of the road as far as, you know, the speed of the cars. You start out with a bomber, a road warrior, go up to maybe a cadet and a pure stock, super street, whatever. But I'll have to agree. We have a good field of pure stock cars every week. So if you were going to take a shot at something and say, let's do it, I think you did real good. Real quick now, you can't do anything alone. There's always going to be people that are going to take a wait and see approach. You know, I don't know if this is going to work. How much do we invest? How much do we get on board? But now you guys have a year under your belt, and nobody can deny you've had excellent car counts. Racing's been outstanding. All the drivers I've talked to are very happy and satisfied with everything. You can't please everybody. We know that. But these guys have a heart to do that. Who are some of the people that's partnered up with you that's helping you out?
We got Big T's as far as sponsorship wise. Big T's Racing Supply out of Moultrie, Georgia. Wildcat Performance, also out of Moultrie, Georgia. They're kind of under the same roof. They're good people. You know, they were with us from the start. Went for them, All-Star Series wouldn't exist. You got RC Motorsports, Robbie Metz. He's our fuel supplier for the series. SWAT Graphics, they make all our checks that we present to the winners. Travis Carter, he's pretty good at it. He's got an eye for the colors and all that. And I don't think I've missed one, have I? Sponsorship wise. Hoosier Tire, they supply our tires. They're great people. I got to thank our crew. Volunteers, they don't get paid a dime. They come to the racetrack. My tech guy, JT Vickery, Woody Hazel, Stan, which Stan's a little bit on the way. He's not going to be at Waycross. He had surgery the other day. Is that it?
Woody, Stan, JT.
That's pretty much our crew. Like I say, they're volunteers. They don't get paid a dime because we don't really make any money off this deal. Everything goes back into series, so it takes money to run it. And they know this, and they take their weekends off to come do it. And we appreciate it, and they're having fun just like we are. They wouldn't be there if they weren't.
And I think that everybody our drivers and our crew tend to go with us because Leo does such a good job. He keeps everything running pretty smooth. I mean, he's wound up pretty tight at the racetrack. We all know that. But, I mean, he's stressing because he wants everything perfect. And, I mean, he takes time to get problems solved and everything. So, you know, people appreciate that. And that's why we have the following that we do, because it's just a bunch of a good group of guys, and Leo does a good job.
The people that run with us make this series more. I say it over and over again. They make it successful. They do. They don't badmouth us. They, you know, and some of the tracks that we go to, it was the drivers that got us in. It wasn't us. It was them going to the track owner and saying, "Hey, we want this race." So I give a lot of credit to them too.
They're loyal beyond belief.
Well, folks, I can tell you, you know, I am busy like these folks are. All of you are. We could itemize what we do, and time is precious. But there's very few things that on in my life that I can commit to. But when I was approached by Dale, Carolyn, and Leo about doing the Deep Dixie Racing Report, one of the reasons that I did it was because of the people that I'm working with. These people love racing. There's no doubt they love it. I mean, there's no way they would ever make back what they have spent in gas money and expenses just to get out there. I mean, staying up late, putting stuff on Facebook, putting stuff on the website. Yeah.
We need sponsors. We
need sponsors, okay? We do appreciate Mike Hurd and 5-Star Hyundai, and seriously, we do. But, guys, I can tell you, I've known Dale, like I said, for a long time. Dale is a great friend, man. And Carolyn and Leo, these people love racing. And we all know at this level, you're not going to make any money racing. As soon as you make it, you're going to lose it back.
You'll be heartbroken if you try to go in.
That's right. Same thing with following bass fishing. You know, very few are going to make it. If you can break even and not get your wife too mad at you, that's success. Now, I said that because my lovely wife is in the studio audience tonight. She is such a baby doll. But Pastor Todd hasn't lost a lot lately. But I have. But, guys, if you get a chance to run with Leo and Carolyn Johnson, seriously, these guys, they're good folks. They really got their heart in this. They've got a lot on the line. And all of the drivers that support them, the track owners, and maybe if there's some drivers and track owners out there that are watching tonight and you're not sure if about this deal, go to Waycross this weekend. I know it's a quick notice, but go to Waycross. And if you don't want to do nothing but go and watch, see how they run. And if you can bring your car, man. You may get a good payday, and you'll be around a lot of good people. Yes.
I want to thank Keith Kendrick and Jerry Ivy for bringing. Can you pull that banner back a little bit? Can you do that? They brought the gold 90 that Eddie McDonald drove. They've got that thing almost finished.
Folks, can y'all see that? You can see it. It's like an old, a roadster type car?
I think they call it a skeeter car.
A skeeter car, and
that's what they were driving in the 60s and 70s, early 70s.
And this is not a replica. This is actually the car, isn't it, Dale? Somebody said they found it in a junkyard in Valdosta, and I can tell you, man, that is a good-looking race car. I don't know if you can see it. We got glare and all of that, but the 90 car that was driven by Eddie McDonald, is that right?
That's it.
All right, that's the real deal right there, man. That's back in the day. That's where Mr. Red Farmer and them guys was mixing it up.
The most feared car in South Georgia.
Yeah, the most feared car in South Georgia. But our thanks, Carolyn and Leo. Thanks, guys. We appreciate it.
What time it is now, don't you? Hold on, Carol.
Need to sit down.
Y'all can't see my footwork now. That's sweet right there. All right, Dale, get us out of here. Have we got everything done? I'm going to take Mr. Ken Kenney, director of the United Dirt Late Model Series, coming to Waycross Motor Speedway this weekend. Also, thank you to Chad Tuten. What a well-spoken young man. Already got a big win this year. Also want to say thank you to John Michael Schmear, Montie Vaughn, John Kellum, Hall of Fame driver, the head man Mike Head, and racing legend, also a Hall of Famer, 82 years old and still going strong, Mr. Red Farmer. If there's anything we can take away from tonight's show, we need to pray for Miss Carolyn Head. Mike told us about that, and here in just a minute, whenever we end this show with a word of prayer, we want to pray for them. Guys, try to make it out this weekend. Find you a place to go racing. Waycross has got a lot of good things happening. Cochran's got some good things happening. Pretty much everywhere the weather looks like it's going to hold out for us, and we hope that you can go out and join us. All right, Dale, bring our bluegrass down. Once again, thank you for tuning in, and we are going to cut this show off right now with a word of prayer, so please bow your heads. Lord, we thank you for another night to come and talk about racing. We thank you for all of the good things that were shared. I thank you for all of our guests that took time to call in and join us, and we especially thank you for those that not only talked about racing, but they talked about life, the good, the bad, the hard times, family, and loss, and just really brought us back down to know that life is so precious, and family is so precious. And we do pray for those that are sick among us in our family. I know Carolyn Head. There are others, Tony Bennett, Elvis McCoy. We pray for the Baltz family, and I know there's other people that I'm not aware of, but you do. I pray that you will just touch them and strengthen their bodies. Lord, we ask that every racer and every worker, every spectator, every crew member that is a part of any race and wherever they're at, I just pray that you will put your hand of protection on them. We pray for our servicemen and women all over the world, as well as their families. We ask that you bring them home safely, bring them home soon. And Lord, please continue to use the Deep Dixie Racing Report as an outreach tool that we can share the gospel of Jesus Christ and hopefully help somebody and change some lives. And we ask all these things in the wonderful name of Jesus Christ. It's been a great night, guys. Once again, our thanks to Raymond and Amy Poor, the staff here at Rescue Smokehouse Grill, my hardworking teammates, Brian Hester, Dale Hall, Carolyn and Leo Johnson. Of course, I'm Pastor Todd Sharon. It's been a fun night. We hope that you'll come back and be with us next Thursday night. Show starts at 7 o'clock. Send us your comments. Send us your questions. We'll try to get to them, and hopefully we can bring them on to our guests. We hope that everybody has a great night. Thanks again, Mike Hurt, 5-Star Hyundai, 650 Russell Parkway. God bless all of you. We'll see you next week with the next episode of the Deep Dixie Racing Report.